very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck once again. Welcome to another flight live stream with Captain Nabs. Welcome aboard your favorite virtual airline here in Canada, Canadian Express Colors, as we fly the Aerosoft CRJ. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry for being a little bit delayed there and getting the stream started. Unfortunately, it happens just all too often that I end up having a little technical glitch with the headset. I use the same headset on multiple devices, so when I unplug it and plug it back in, of course, OBS streaming software does not have time to recognize it the first time I run the software, and I have to usually run it a second time before it recognizes that the headset's plugged back in. So I do have a lower quality headset that I do tend to use on this computer, but for streaming I try to keep it to the higher quality headset. So anyways, it's yeah, I apologize for that. I really should either try to get up earlier or push the start time of these sessions back, because I'm not necessarily a huge morning person. I'm definitely not an early bird, and this is definitely early enough for me getting started. But that being said, of course, we're doing a fairly long set of lights today. Today we're going to be doing Toronto up to Sault Ste. Marie, and then Sault Ste. Marie up to Winnipeg. And between those two, it's a pretty long flight. It's about 3 hours of flying time with a turnaround in the middle. So it's going to be a fairly long stream. So I wanted to get it started before it got too late into the day. So kind of, you know, I was a little bit of two minds there. You know, did I want to, you know, how early did I want to start streaming to make sure I get done in reasonable time, versus how early can I actually get up and be ready to do this? So anyways, yeah, nevertheless, we're going to have some fun this morning. We're going to continue with our cross-country tour. As you can probably see, we are still here at Toronto Pearson. Here comes the jet bridge. And we are, yeah, this is the Fly Tampa Toronto scenery. For those of you that missed last week's stream, it's here. It's here at long last. It's been a long time coming, but it's here. I'm just going to turn down that background noise a little bit because I feel like it might be a little bit too loud. But yeah, it's finally here, and if I can just be permitted to even have 5 minutes to just scroll around and look, because it is really, just like I've said before, a thing of beauty. There goes a Rouge airplane outbound, but absolutely fantastic here. It's a beautiful scenery, extremely well done. There are problems with it. I won't say it's perfect by any means. There are issues with it. There is some kind of pavement texturing issues here between the asphalt and the concrete here on the winterscape. In the summer it blends really nicely, but in the winter, different textures here are not quite showing the sun as well, the snow as well as they should. It's sort of a bit of a weird stark line, a sort of stark contrast there where it crosses. But certainly in terms of modeling, most of it is here. Certainly enough of it where most of your operations at the main terminals are going to be fine. You've got bridges and gates finally accurately labeled and numbered for the most part. There are a few errors to that as well. I did find them. I did highlight them to Fly Tampa. I did send them some notes, being very familiar with this airport, and they are always welcoming of feedback, especially from people who are in the know about the scenery. So they're welcoming of that feedback. So if I find anything else, I will try to feed it back to them. I feel like just certain things were not finished, and again, what they have here is great, and you could get away with this. What they've done here is fantastic. It's such a fantastic model, such good scenery, that you could get away with it as this is your final release and never update it, and it'd still be worth the money that people are paying for Fly Tampa scenery. But I don't think that's not what Fly Tampa does. Fly Tampa doesn't sort of sit on their laurels. They do take their sweet time to get stuff done, because I think they're doing it quite well. And oh, look at that. The train had a little bit of a... oh no. I thought the train had a glitch, but no, it's because it's on the far track. That's why. Never mind. Yeah, the thing about Fly Tampa is they don't tell you very much when they're working on things. They really kind of, their pipeline is very quiet, and then all of a sudden they release their scenery, and it's some of the best scenery out there. And this scenery especially is fantastic in terms of its performance, which is something that just for some reason the horizon line is not straight, and it's driving me nuts. I am OCD with these things. In the P3D version, Fly Tampa Toronto was terrible, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I just mean it was the performance was really bad unless you turned everything off. And even then, so many objects, so many buildings, so many textures, it was the performance was not good. I was often down to the single digits. No other scenery on that I ever used in P3D brought my computer to its knees like Fly Tampa Toronto, which is a shame because Toronto is my home base and I want to fly Toronto. But it was just it turned into a slideshow, often 10 frames per second or less, just because of the amount of detail, the volume of buildings, textures, everything around here. That being said, I think Fly Tampa's taken a little bit of a lesson from that, and also just from the fact that the sim is better manages your resources on your rig, and my performance is definitely, it takes a hit. It definitely takes a hit, but we're talking about going from 40 to 30 frames per second, 45 to 35, to 10 frame per second loss, which is still a pretty substantial loss. It's still about a 25% loss over what I was getting otherwise, but it's not nearly as bad. Like before, like you were talking about, like slicing like my frame rate before by like 70% for the same scenery. So, and now they have interiors to the terminals, which they did not, which was optional before, I guess. You could have it, but I never turned it on. Even with most of the options off, it was still really bad in the performance. But now it's just fantastic. And Squibbly says the scenery is phenomenal. Just take a tour through Terminal 3. All right, we'll do that real quick. I really want to get this flight going, but let's just do this really quick. The one thing I hate is that the drone speed is really kind of slow by default, and especially if you want to kind of tour an airport. Now nope, no modeling here. But that being said, you don't really, again, and it's one of those things where I'm a simmer. You know, now I got the drone entirely too fast here. There we go. I'm a simmer. I believe in trying to create the most immersive experience from operating the airplane. So to me, the landside details, like the fact that the ticket hall, the check-in counters are not modeled, I could care less, really, at the end of the day. It's these things that you would see from outside, from where the airplanes are parked. That's what I concern myself with. And these are pretty good. Like look at the shiny floor, first of all. You know, as you walk through this terminal, you can see there are objects. Some of them are fairly simplistic. The benches are fairly simplistic if you get up close to them, but there's also hundreds of them throughout the terminal, so you can't have them be overly complicated. Things like the wall, like the stores and walls here are fairly low texture, low detail texture. That's fine because, again, when you see it from the perspective of an airplane, fantastic. Looks really good from this distance. If you get really up close, okay, you're going to see a lot of texturing, a lot of low level detail. But again, for me, I'm okay with that. I am perfectly okay with that because for me, it's about the aircraft experience. So from here, it looks really good to have. Just, you can see the glass is transparent. You can see through the terminal building in spots. It's not the most highly detailed interior. The objects in there are not super highly detailed, but I think it strikes a really good balance between performance and detail. I said it on my last stream. You could have a rendition of this airport that is, you know, down to the centimeter, 100% accurate in every way, shape, and form. First of all, the file would be several hundred gigabytes alone, and your performance would be absolutely zero. You would get about 0.1 frames per second. You could do it. The real trick in scenery development is creating a model that really evokes the airport you're trying to model, while still keeping performance reasonable. And that, I think, is the real crux of a good scenery designer. And Fly Tampa have proven themselves to be one of the best, because they have taken this airport that is incredibly complicated with so much detail, and they've put the detail in there, and yet they've kept the performance level extremely reasonable for most simmers. So I'm very impressed. It's not perfect. There are some elements missing. There are some, perhaps, simplifications here and there. But overall, it definitely lives up to the Fly Tampa standard for the most part, and I think with one or two updates, I think, coming, who knows when, but whenever they do come out, I think this will reach the level we truly expect from Fly Tampa all the time. Okay, that's enough yammering on about Toronto scenery, because we've got a long set of flights ahead of us today, people. I just love the detail on this. Look at this. Danger, no de-icing fluid in this area, no de-icing fluid. Like, it just, the level of detail on these things. Okay, but anyways, yeah, we are going to get started here with setting up for our flight to Sault Ste. Marie, because it's not going to be a short flight, and we do have some ATC online today, which is fantastic. I did use my connections. I put out a little request for ATC, and it looks like my request was heeded. So let's hop in the flight deck. Where am I here? There I am. Haha. Seems like it's a tiny bit high, so every once in a while I bump my monitor. I don't even realize it, and I move my camera ever so slightly, so there we go. That's a little better. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Squibbly. I see you there. Welcome back to another stream. Glad we could do this together again, and we're going to get this set up now because I don't want it to take too long. So let me just put on my trusty Trek IR. All right, and let's get that there. There we are. Now, for some reason, the bridge came out, and then it went away. And I'm not sure why. Huh. Oh, that's you in the WestJet livery. Aha. That's weird. The bridge came over, and then it doesn't want to come over now. That is very strange. It tried to come over, and then it gave up. Weird. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it too much because at the end of the day, today, the other problem with this whole thing is that today we're not going to be able to use self-loading cargo only because I chose to stop in Sault Ste. Marie. Sault Ste. Marie has no jet bridges. It is it is an open ramp operation, as they say. So our passengers will be getting on and off with just using the air stairs and not using a bridge. Of course, self-loading cargo in the CRJ don't play particularly nice. The customized doors in the CRJ are not recognized by self-loading cargo, so self-loading cargo would not ever recognize the fact that we arrived in Sault Ste. Marie if we didn't have a jet bridge to pull up the airplane. That's the trick that self-loading cargo uses, is when a bridge is attached, it assumes the door is open. Because we don't have that, we're not going to use self-loading cargo today. It's just going to be a straight up, we'll call it a charter flight today. Yeah, so we're just going to get into the airplane here. Just give me a second while I grab my checklist. There it is. Let's do our quick safety check. All right, hydraulic pumps off, steering off, flight spoiler lever 0, and actually I'm just going to do a quick little control check. And of course the thrust levers don't work, but if those two work, then I should have the correct controls configured. Landing gear lever is down, slat flap lever is set to 0. Radar is off. ADG manual deploy is stowed. Emergency flap is normal. And battery master on. APU and AC electrics. And we should have AC electrics. There we go. On. Hydraulic pump 3A. On. Parking brake is on. External lights. Nav light, and emergency equipment checked, flight docks and logbook checked, flight deck door checked, gear and ADG pins removed, safety checklist is complete, and the one thing that I learned from last time that's not on this startup checklist, and it should be, but it's not because it's the safety check. So this is making sure nothing is going to injure anybody when you power up the airplane, put electrical power to the airplane. You do all these checks, and then we start the first thing in the flight compartment check itself, which I don't normally read because it's normally done as a flow, is to put the IRS selectors to nav. I found that out the hard way on the last stream there, when it took way too long to get that IRS aligned when I forgot to align it initially. So, yeah, at this point we're not going to be using any self-loading cargo today, so we are just going to go ahead and leave the door open there, and we'll just simulate boarding. What we can also do is we can pop open the forward and the aft cargo hold, and we can at least simulate baggage loading. And then we can hop in the flight or into the FMS here and start doing our thing. So 305, use the pushback helper to override the doors, open the front, and SLC is okay with that. Yeah, the CRJ though is special. I gotta say, it's special because it does not allow. It doesn't recognize the doors. So I'm just gonna skip it for today, just to kind of keep things moving and not slow this down too much. But yeah, it bugs me a little bit, but it's one of those things where I'll get used to it. I'll deal with it. All right, so I've got my trusty EFB on my tablet here. So we're going to go ahead and set this all up. So we got to do position init and go to next page to get our GPS coordinates and copy them back over to our init flight plan. So we're doing a fairly simple flight plan today. CYYZ to CYAM. And it really is, like I said, a fairly simple flight plan. I'm just going to pull it up on my other screen here, as always. And I'm guessing our alternate's Thunder Bay, or maybe back to Toronto. Alternate is North Bay. Okay. Hopefully the weather's okay in North Bay. I honestly did not check. Let's just check.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
And Pushback Express shut itself down again because I happened to press the C key while typing in North Bay. CYYB. Clear skies, cold, but clear skies. Okay, good. So it should be good as an alternate. Normally I look at this when I'm following the flight plan. I got kind of rushed because the technical issue was sort of pushing me through the rest of this. So let's have a quick listen to the ATIS here. On my vPilot window, it's 310-14, gusting 22-15 miles, broken 15,000, temperature -7 birds, cold morning out there. 2978, and the approach is ILS 33 right, departure 33 right. Okay. Yeah, I guess with that gusty wind, that's not unusual. All right, so 33 right. We're going to be on the AV/6 departure Musit transition. And then from there, we go direct to Sault Ste. Marie VOR, direct to the field. In reality, we'll never get to the Sault Ste. Marie VOR. Most likely, we'll just do we'll set up for an IFR approach before that. I'm not even going to put an arrival runway right now. We'll figure that out once we're en route. Performance. All right. Let's just get this grabbed from the airplane here. All right, and how many people are we loading up today? So we've got 44. Oh, that's the lowest I've seen in SimBrief in a while. So she's going to be a light load to get us to Sault Ste. Marie here. And we'll go ahead and we'll put wet runway down. It's probably actually dry. It's cold, high pressure. We got some frost on the airplane, so it looks like we'll have to go de-ice really quickly before we get going here. Fortunately, it shouldn't take us too long. Let's see here. Altitude today for flight, 34,000. And if we had to go to the alternate, it'd be 33,000 to get to North Bay. All right, execute that. ISA, let's see here. We've got -6 and 307 at 42. At least the winds are not as strong as they have been in the past, and we've been dealing with headwinds on the order of 100 to 150 knots the last little while. So the idea that it's not that strong anyways is really kind of nice. -6 for our ISA deviation and cruise. Definitely will get us there a little bit faster. And VNAV setup. The only thing I'm going to do is just change the planning 0.77, and all this really affects, because there's no auto throttles, it just affects the fuel burn planning in the FMC. That's all it really affects. The one thing I should do on the perf page as well is, if we're just going to add a flex temp of, let's call it 36. I'm just sort of pulling these off the top of my head at this point. I don't have any flex temp tables for this aircraft. Okay. So our FMC is set up. We'll do a quick overhead flow. Just make sure everything is set up appropriately here. First flight of the day. Do the fire extinguishing monitor check. Lights are all good. Fuel pumps are off right now. They are showing failed. We've got auto and both for bleed air. The isolation valve is closed. We can probably start the APU at this point because we're going to be ready for pushback shortly here. Just wait to see that the door opens successfully. And away it goes. Alright, we're not starting the engines though, so that's good. A quick little check of the hydraulic system here. Just activate all the pumps on their electric setting. Make sure we do get pressure in every system. We lose pressure in every system, and then we put 3A back to on, and 3 should stay powered up. Good. All right, cabin pressure, Sault Ste. Marie. I haven't been to Sault Ste. Marie in a long time. As I recall, it's about 900 feet, I think. Something on that neighborhood, I think. I could honestly look at it in the charts. I'm going to set it to something for now, and we'll verify it once we sort of get underway here. So I think it's about 900, as I recall, but that's totally off the top of my head. All right, get the packs on, the recirc fan on. We don't need the cargo conditioning on. We do need windshield heat. We are showing ice already. We don't need lighting. Armed emergency lights. No smoking sign on. Seatbelt sign. How much fuel do we need to get to Sault Ste. Marie? We need 8,400. We got 98.55 loaded right now, so we'll go ahead and put the seatbelt sign on. All right. The lighting is all good. Quick stall warning test. Sounds like I may have turned it down a little bit too much, but you guys tell me. Do you think it's too quiet? I think it might be a little bit on the quiet side, but there we go. Try to turn that up just a little bit so it sounds a little louder to me. Let's see here. Barrow, what do we say? 2978, I think? 2978. Alright, so 2978. 2978. Alright, test the CVR. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Green light should go on. There it is. Perfect. That's all we need to do. Pardon me. Hopefully my voice will make it through this morning. I find that like 3 hours of talking is about where my voice runs out. 5,000 feet, and speed is already set to V2. Or no, sorry, it's set to 1. Yeah, V2 plus 10. Yeah, V2 plus 10. Heading. We need 327 initially. Perfect. All right. Engine spins look good. Messages all look normal. The APU's up and running, so we can go ahead and disconnect the ground power while we're at it here. All right, disconnect the ground power. I don't know what happened to. I don't know what happened to my Pushback Express. It closed itself, so I'm gonna have to relaunch that here in a second. All right. Turn that off, turn that on. They should, again, the messages go away, which indicates they passed their self-test.
Overheat.
Quick little light test here. Make sure all the lights work. Keep it on bright for daytime. Thrust reverser disarmed. Spoilers are closed. Flight control disconnects are in. The thrust levers are at shut off. The flaps are 0. And we're going to get Toronto Center in here because we do have ATC. So I did beg Borrow and Steal. I did ask if anyone was interested in coming on for doing ATC for this morning, and somebody did bite on it. So whoever that is, thank you. I haven't even looked, to be honest, but I will have a look in a minute. Normal, normal. Stab trim's on. Yaw damper's on. Quick trim check, and let's just pop this out for the trim check. So there's the elevator trim check, aileron trim check, and rudder trim check. Alright, otherwise display settings are fine. Everybody's in the normal position. Everything is stowed. I think we're just about good to go. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab the clearance. If I could just grab Notepad here on the other screen. Toronto Center, good morning. It's Canadian Express 472 for radio check.
Canadian Express 472, readability 5.
Toronto Center, thanks. Canadian Express 472, request clearance to Sioux.
Canadian Express 472, clearance clear to Sault Ste. Marie, AVSEP 6 departure, Musette transition. Departure runway is 33 right, squawk 0520.
Canadian Express 472 is cleared to Sault Ste. Marie via the AVSEP 6 departure, MUSIT transition and flight plan route. Departure runways 33 right, squawk code 0520.
Air Canada 8203, the wind's 310 at 14, gust to 22, clear to land, runway 33 right.
Clear to land 33 right, Air Canada 8203.
Canadian Express 472, readback is correct. Push and start at your discretion. Call for taxi. Information Delta current.
Okay, push start at our discretion. We'll call for taxi with positive de-ice this morning. Canadian Express 472.
472, roger.
All right, I think that's Mark by the sounds of it. Okay, so Sault Ste. Marie AVSEP 6 MUSIT for 33 right, squawk is 0520. We got that in the box. So let's pull up first of all our charts. And actually, while I'm up here, let's just open up my FS2 crew again. Pushback Express. That should launch itself. And of course, I didn't bother to check this because I'm an idiot. Any second now. There it is. Alright, so go to flights. Even though I know this and I could probably rattle off this departure, even off 33 right in my head, without ever looking at a chart. It's discipline at the end of the day. I see it happen from time to time. People who think a lot of their skills, and I'll admit that I'm someone who does tend to think a lot of my skills as well. But I see it again and again where people just refuse to look at the reference documents. And the reason why these reference documents exist, checklists would be the other one that I see people skip all the time. There's a reason why these things exist. We're all human beings. It's easy to forget things from time to time. So always go to the chart. Always verify what you are pretty certain is true anyways, because you've done it 100 times. Always just verify it. So we're at Terminal 1, 126, so we're going to taxi out for runway, for de-ice initially. We're going to go probably Alpha Kilo Tango to the CDF and then swing around Victor to hold short of 33 right for departure. The hotspot hazard would be crossing 33 right just to get to the de-ice facility. Active departure and arrival runway. Okay, let's see here. AVSEP 6 departure off of runway 33 right. Stop clicking on so many things. There we are. Yeah. Plate 10-3 Alpha 3, 30th January 2020. Radars required 100 miles safe is 49 jet aircraft only for use by GNSS or DDI equipped aircraft. Aircraft with a selectable CDI must be set to 1 nautical mile sensitivity. Further noise abatement procedures. Alright, so for runway 33 right specifically, unless otherwise assigned by TC, climb heading 327 until we get to 2100 feet, then a climbing right turn heading 340 is assigned and expect radar vectors to TTAD or assigned and proceed via the depicted route, unless otherwise assigned by TC, maintain 5,000 feet. So we got 5,000. If I could just be permitted to scroll down here a little bit there in the corner, we have TTAD, we have AVSEP, NUGOP, should be next,
Air Canada 8203,
PEPMA, and MUSIT. So it's all in the box. It was programmed correctly. Terrain around Toronto is 3,100 feet. The weather is, it's a beautiful morning, a little bit gusty wind, and we have to deal with the icing. Operational, no NOTAMs, no MELs that affect our operation, and that's all I've got. Noise abatement is no unauthorized turns before we reach 4 DME from YYZ.
Roger, taxi Bravo 2,
and that's
Bravo,
all I've got. Any questions?
Alpha Kilo 2.
I just have to get up the go-around bars. That would help.
Bravo 2, Bravo.
All right, let's do that before start checklist. Let's get this whole show on the road here. So before start, APU is on.
Rouge
Electrics.
1851, you're leaving my airspace to the west. Minneapolis Center is
Electrics
offline.
are checked.
Surveillance service
Hydraulic pumps are
eliminated.
auto and on. Seatbelts are now on. Pressurization is
Roger, sir. Thanks a lot for DC and have a good day. Rouge,
pressure set.
18.
Altimeters are 2978 inches set and cross-checked, and FMS, IRS, ACARs are all checked. Flight instruments and avionics are also checked, and the takeoff briefing is complete. The before start checklist is complete down to the line. Let's just go ahead and close up. Once we've got that closed, let's do this. Flight deck to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We will be ready in a minute.
Roger.
All right, yeah, it seems like the timing's good. I didn't even notice your message. Sorry, I was just yakking to myself so much there. But yeah, we're pretty much good to go here, so this will work out really well. So below the line, let's get fuel pumps, the beacon. All right, EFB PADs are in airplane mode. Doors are closed. Fuel pumps are on, and we have 9,800 pounds. 8,500 required. Beacon is on. Steering is off. Transponder is going to on. I did set 0520. I did. Parking brake and fuel check valve. We are ready for pushback and engine start. We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Brakes are released.
Pushing back.
There we go. Let me get myself into position here so I can steer the tug.
Air Canada
You are clear
103.
behind,
Actually,
and
you're going
you
to be
can
leaving
start
my
your
airspace
engines at
probably
your
in 10,
discretion.
15 minutes.
Thank
so
you very much.
You can,
Starting engine
we'll
one.
just send you over to Unicom now. Surveillance services are terminated. Have a good flight.
And I'm going to try and gauge where lane 6 is there. I see a CRJ taxiing
Thanks.
in.
Yeah, have a good one. Aircraft calling clearance to Iqaluit. Where are you located? Oh, you're in Ottawa?
And there's 20%.
Cargo Jet 470. Roger, standby.
Just a generic CRJ. I wonder what airline that's supposed to be. And if I need to adjust my model matching. Oh, I missed the line completely. That's okay. Obviously the ramp guys can't see anything in the snow. But what we can do... Nope, going the wrong way, aren't I? Oops, going the wrong way.
Cargo Jet.
Alright, got normal start on 1.
Clearance clear to Iqaluit.
Starting
the
engine
Ottawa
2.
4 departure. Flight plan route. Departure runway is 07. Squawk 0545.
The nice thing about Pushback Express is you can even have them tow you into position. Oops, wrong way.
Cargo Jet 470.
Waiting for
Readback is
20%.
correct. Push and start. Your discretion. Contact me for taxi.
That's probably about as good as we're going to get. Stop, pushback.
Cargo Jet 470. Sorry, I didn't understand that. You said you're
Pushback
ready
complete.
for
Set
taxi?
parking brakes, please.
Brakes are set.
Got
Roger.
it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the tow bar is disconnected and the equipment is clear. We will see you on the left side with the pin.
You're clear to disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
I realized I had not started my CX8 cars tracking. Try it again there now that I got FSU IPC started. Engines are starting. He's pulling away. Just give me 1 second while I type in the details of this flight into CX8 cars. Why is it not letting me? Huh. Let me restart it. Okay, it did not want to let me put in the type of aircraft for some reason, so let me just restart it here. Now it's the field's populated properly. That was weird. Alright, Toronto, CYM.
3812, turn left direct, map them on course.
That's him, 44 peeps, and the routing.
Left direct map on my course, Pilot Club 3812.
Absip 6, Musit, Sault Ste. Marie. There we go. Perfect. Alright. I almost realized I'd almost forgotten that. For some reason the yaw damper is not on, so let's get that yaw damper on. We do have ice, we're aware of that. Alright, everything looks good there, so let's go ahead and do an after start checklist. I'm going to go ahead and shut down that APU. Going to have the engine anti-ice, we need the probes as well. And we're not going to do anything with the slat flap because we're going for the ice. Alright, after start checklist generators are auto. APU is coming off. Packs are on. Cargo air is off. Anti-ice is... we've got engine anti-ice. Probes are on. Electrics. checked. Thrust reversers are armed. Trims are set. 7.5, 3 green. PTMS is checked. Takeoff data is set at cross checked, and the rudder and steering will happen after the de-icing. So after start checklist is complete. Just roll ahead on lane 6 and get the taxi light on, and we'll call ground here. Toronto, Canadian Express 472 coming up on Alpha Kilo ready, taxi de-ice.
Air Canada 472, the altimeter 2975, taxi via Alpha Kilo Bravo Tango, cross runway 33 right to enter the de-icing pad.
Alright, Canadian Express 472, taxi out Alpha Kilo Bravo Tango, crossing runway 33 right for de-ice. And the altimeter is now 2975. Good stuff, good stuff. So we are going to go simulate some de-icing this morning. The season is almost over, thank goodness. 'Cause, wow, this has been a long, frustrating winter that just never seems to end.
305, ready for taxi 33 with Echo.
It was an Air Canada CRJ 700. Thank you for looking that up, Travis, because I was going to look that up. An Air Canada CRJ is no such thing, so thank you for thank you for looking that up, Travis. I appreciate that. Although it is funny because, like, yeah, in the livery as it's listed in the sim, I'm pretty sure it says Air Canada. It doesn't say Air Canada Express. It doesn't say Jazz. It says Air Canada. But Air Canada doesn't operate CRJs. They have a regional affiliate that does. So, yeah. Part of that inaccuracy, I think, goes right back to the way Aerosoft published their information. And I think they would do better to at least say it's Air Canada Express or Jazz operating as Air Canada Express, rather than just saying it's an Air Canada CRJ, because Air Canada does not now and has never had CRJs. Anywho, let's make the most of this beautiful scenery while we got it here. Alright, we're not going to take a whole long time because it's just defrosting today. There's just a little bit of frost on the aircraft itself. On a sunny day like this, it might even melt off on its own. But if it didn't, we'd go to the de-icing bay, we'd get it taken care of. If there's any doubt in your mind that ever exists, the rule is always de-ice, or at least go and get inspected. If you go to the de-icing bay,
470, go ahead.
The personnel that work there in the buckets, they can actually reach out and touch the aircraft as well and see if there is anything that needs to be removed. They also get a much better vantage point than you do from the flight deck, where all you can see is the windows. The CRJ is not a bad airplane because it's such a low-wing airplane.
Jet 470, not a problem.
As a pilot, you can definitely see.
25. Actually, I'm showing the same wind. So what's strange to me is that Nav Canada is showing Ottawa departing 07. So that's fine. Plan runway 25.
No, and that's absolutely correct. They don't have. Travis said they don't have 700s. They only have 900s and 200s. Jazz only operates the CRJ 900 and the 200. They don't have the 700. I kind of get why people are flying around in the 700. It was the base pack for the CRJ. So if you don't want to go and shell out money for the expansion pack, then fly the 700. And it's, as far as being inside the flight deck, it's almost the same. The outside model, the 900 is a little bit longer than the 700, but all right, clear left and right. Strobes on for the runway crossing. Give it a little bit of power so we can zip across this really quick here. Alright. And we'll take pad 4 north here. So we'll take a little left turn. Get this. If I had an FO, it'd be great. You could turn the strobe off for me. Or an FS2 crew. I had heard that they were getting close to releasing FS2 crew for this aircraft. I haven't heard hide nor hair of it for a few weeks now, so I wonder if they ran into some technical difficulties. Because it's one of the things I am looking forward to, is getting FS2 crew back in this airplane. This is a fantastic airplane for it. It's a very busy airplane. Alright, so at this point you would call the Iceman. As we approached Echo, we'd actually call the pad control, who would tell us which pad to go to, and then as we turn into the bay, then we talk to the Iceman. The Iceman actually clears us into our de-icing bay. So pad control will only clear you as far as your holding bay, which is the first half here where you wait in queue to get de-iced. And then the actual de-icing usually happens in the second bay here. So you do talk to the Iceman, they tell you to taxi in and use the signboards for stop guidance. So you got these nice little signboards here, and when you first taxi up, they have your aircraft flight number on there, so you can verify that they're going to build the right airline, the right flight. But then as you approach the stop line, you got these green lines on here that start shrinking, and they turn red when you reach the stop bar. That's close enough. All right, and the one thing we've got to do then is turn off our bleed valves closed, turn off our air conditioning packs, make sure our stab trim is where it needs to be. So different aircraft is different things. Some it's a neutral position, some it's 0 degrees, some it's full nose down. Different aircraft have different things. Flaps are up. So yeah, so thrust levers are idle, parking brake is set. Pitch trim is set, and the flaps are 0. The bleeds are off, the packs are off, we're ready for de-ice. So you go ahead and call the guy, tell him type 1 wings and tail. If it's removing active frost, oh, and the one thing I did do, and they would yell at me, so I didn't turn off the taxi light, is they would yell at you, hey, just make sure the taxi light's off. And then, yeah, so they'd spray type 1 on the wings and tail. Normally, if it's below 0, type 1 will last 45 minutes if you're just dealing with frost. And this would not even be considered an active frost condition anymore because it's no longer nighttime because the sun's out. Active frost is pretty much only at night. When you get frost at night, as soon as the sun comes out, it's no longer active frost. So you may get some... So you may even get longer than 45 minutes, but... the other important thing is to always note the time that your final coat of de-icing starts at. And that then count forward for 45 minutes. We'll talk about it when we get going, because de-icing, it's an interesting thing to simulate. There's lots of stuff to think about when you start doing de-icing. And especially here at Pearson, where they would have probably 3 trucks hit this small airplane. One on each wing, one on the tail. Type 1 de-icing can literally be done in 60 to 90 seconds. It takes almost longer to drive the trucks to position than it actually takes on a small aircraft like this to actually spray it down if there's not much accumulation. So we'll say that's good enough. So what we'll do is we'll start the
Pilot Cub 3812, turn left, heading
timer here,
0.
and we'll do the flight control check before we get moving out of the bay here. So flight controls checked, elevators, ailerons, and the rudder. All right. And I should have turned the nose wheel steering off, because now the whole nose wheel would have cranked around and been very uncomfortable for everybody. After start below the line, rudder is checked and the steering is armed. After start, checklist below the line is complete. And tell the Iceman that we're ready to resume taxi. And he says follow the, when the signboard indicates green, you can turn left and hold short of Victor. All right. Not that one. Taxi light back on, and look left and right. Make sure the trucks are not still around the aircraft. De-icing is something that's it's done commonly, but there's a very specific set of procedures. There have been, unfortunately, over the years. Back in the day, there were some very serious incidents. There was a situation in Montreal, a very serious incident where I don't remember the company, but it was a 747 that was de-icing, and they thought they were cleared to taxi. But there was still de-icing trucks parked in front of the wing, so they actually started taxiing. They hit the de-icing trucks, knocked the de-icing trucks over, and I believe they killed at least 1 de-icer. Which is why it's imperative, and it's so emphasized in the industry that you double and triple check that the equipment is all clear of the airplane before you start moving. And you always listen to hear, get a verbal confirmation, and usually I make a visual confirmation myself as well, because you know, mind you, in a smaller aircraft, a regional jet, you're probably not going to knock the truck over the point where it's going to kill somebody, but you could. Like, those things are very top-heavy when they've got the bucket extended all the way up. It's a very top-heavy vehicle. It's definitely conceivable that you could...
WestJet 305, 3000, 5000.
That you could even, in a small
WestJet
aircraft like this, potentially hit it hard enough that you could knock the truck over. Not without doing substantial damage to your aircraft, too, of course. But. All right. That's been 2 minutes, so we can go ahead and get the bleeds on, and we're going to wait.
WestJet
gonna say
305.
2 more minutes and then
direct
we'll...
TTAD on course, climb flight level 230.
Left direct TTAD climb 230. WestJet 05.
Toronto Canadian Express 472, de-icing complete, lane 1 short of Victor.
Canadian Express 472, runway 33 right, altimeter 2975, taxi via Victor, hold short, runway 33 right.
Victor short of 33 right, Canadian Express 472, thanks. Alright, just a left turn here, we'll give it another 2 minutes and we'll turn on those packs. So you always want to give some time with the bleeds on the packs off after de-icing, just in case any de-icing fluid was ingested into the engine system.
3812.
You blow it out the bleeds
Turn
before
right,
you
heading
start putting on the
210
packs and
going
start blowing that
localizer,
air
clear
into the
ILS
cabin.
approach
So
runway 26
it doesn't,
at
it's not
Kitchener.
that it normally happens too much. Generally, the
Right
de-icing
turn,
crews are very aware of the
210,
idea of keeping
localizer clear
fluid
to
away
ILS,
from engines,
indication,
air intakes,
3812.
probes, all those sort of things. But just as a precaution, we run the bleeds for about 2 minutes. Bleeds only without the packs before we activate the packs for that reason. All right, it took us long enough, but we're almost getting going here.
The wind's 300 at 16, clear for takeoff, runway 25.
All right, give it about 30 more seconds, and then we can do that and run our before takeoff checklist. Most of the time it's not a problem because most of the time in Toronto you're not departing 33 right, so the taxi out is usually slower than that. Especially from the de-icing bay, you're usually taxiing for at least 3, 4, 5 minutes, so it's funny to just sit here and sort of actually have to wait out this timer here that I've got going. And I don't know if 2 minutes is actually what's specified in CRJ. I honestly don't know, but I'm basing that. Most aircraft that I've ever flown have been something along those lines. So there's the 2 minutes. We can get to have packs on. And while we're holding short of the runway, set the takeoff flap now. And before takeoff checklist, flight controls were checked. Flight instruments are also checked. Fuel cross flow is manual. N1 is 87.2. Oops, that's in reverse for some reason. Checked. Rise briefing. It's runway 33 right. It's the AVSEP 6 departure.
Canadian
The
Express
top altitude is 5,000.
472.
Engine out straight ahead.
The wind's 300 at 15,
Flaps are
gust
8.
at 22, clear for takeoff, runway 33 right.
Clear for takeoff 33 right. Canadian Express 472. And cabin is secure before takeoff. Checklist is complete. Lineup check. Need a little bit of power to get going onto this runway here because it's a little bit of an upslope. Let's get lights, and we are clear for takeoff, so we'll get all the landing lights as well at this point. Lineup check. Cabin is advised. Transponder is on. Clear left and right. Ignition is not required. The anti-ice is engines and ED1 and 2 checked. Clear. Lights on. Lineup checklist is complete. All right. Here we go.
Toronto Center.
Takeoff.
Air Canada 23 IFR 211.
Air Canada 8203.
100 knots.
Good morning, clearance. Clear to Ottawa, Verdo 6
E1,
departure, Alpha
rotate.
transition. Depart runway 33 right, squawk 0533.
Positive rate. Gear up.
Clear to the Ottawa Airport via the Verdo 6 departure, Alpha transition, will expect 33 right, squawk 0533, Air Canada 203.
Air Canada 8203, grade back correct. Permission start when ready, call for taxi.
Heading mode.
Cargo Jet 470, say altitude.
There goes
Cargo Jet
600 speed.
470.
Go ahead and get the
climb,
autopilot on there.
Sorry, Cargo Jet 470.
Climb
Identify
power.
Climb 13,000.
Advance the speed, and we're supposed to be doing now heading 340. Let's do too far. 340. Flap 0. Toronto Center jet, correction, Canadian Express 472 is airborne 2400 for 5000 AVSEP 6 departure.
Canadian Express 472 identified, climb flight level 230.
Climb flight level 230, Canadian Express 472.
Pilot Club 3812, the wind's 300 at 16, clear to land runway 26.
Clear to land 26, Pilot Club 3812.
WestJet 305, climb flight level 340.
Alright, there's 230. Alright. After takeoff
WestJet
checklist.
305, Toronto.
Landing up. Landing gears up. Flaps are 0.
Go ahead.
Fuel cross feed is off.
WestJet 305,
Bleeds
climb flight
are
level 340.
set.
40, WestJet 05, sorry again.
APU's off. Lights are all as
Canada
required.
Rouge
470, turn right direct, Raiden on course.
left 500 feet.
Blocked.
Canadian Express 472, turn left direct TTAD on course, climb flight level 230.
Left direct TTAD on course. Climb flight level 340. Canadian Express 472. TTAD. Execute. And LNAV. That's a horrible direct too, I gotta say.
Actually, Canadian Express 472, you can proceed direct AVSEP on course, just so you're not going backwards.
Alright, thank you very much for that direct AVSEP. Canadian Express 472. There we go, that'll be a little nicer. I was gonna say, that was like a really kind of a hard turn there to get to TTAD.
Center Rouge currently 11,400 feet.
Lights are off, thrust reversers are
Squawk 0506.
off, engine displays 1 and 2 are checked and cleared, and the cabin, we'll ping them when we get to 10,000 feet here. Alright, so I don't see any icing out there with our altitude right now. For some reason it seems to think we're in icing conditions. Just going to take it off for a minute here just to pull us a little farther out of this.
Toronto altimeter 2975, landing runway.
Get us a little higher here because it really really penalizes your climb rate in this aircraft having the anti-ice on. That's one thing I've noticed about this aircraft. It does not climb well at all if you got anti-ice on.
Rouge
Right.
357.
And he did say climb 340. I
landing runway
got
is 33
distracted
right,
by the
altimeter
multiple
2975.
direct twos, so let's get that in there.
Rouge 357, yeah, we're running, descending to 5,000, just wondering about the approach. We have an RNAV Zulu approach
Flight
at
level
runway
340.
26.
Rouge 357. My apologies. Sorry, I read the wrong thing. Yeah, Rouge 357, continue descent 5,000.
And if you look out there, there's
26.
Brampton Airport right there.
Continue descent for runway 26.
See all the hangars there.
5,000 Rouge 357.
Unfortunately, we are not leaving winter yet. It's still winter here, definitely in parts of Canada, and the parts we're heading to, it's probably more wintry than Toronto. Although apparently, this week it's going to turn really nice. There's a fresh layer of snow last night, but tomorrow,
At 470, you're leaving my airspace.
starting a little bit later in the
Northeast,
week, it's going to start to get really nice
Surveillance
apparently.
services are terminated.
It's going to get up to like a double digits at a time, which is going to be great. The snow's going to be gone. Spring is going to be in the air. I'm going to be happy about that. I'm not a big winter person myself.
Toronto Center,
All right.
Pilot Club 3812.
There's 10. Lights are off.
Runway 14.
Seatbelt. Let's leave it till we get above this cloud deck here. Let's put the anti-ice back on for that cloud deck.
Pilot Club 3812.
Get the
Stand by.
wings on as well. And yeah, 10,000. Yeah, we'll just double chine the cabin.
Pilot Club.
So they can get up, but we'll leave the
3812. Sorry, where
passengers
did you
seated,
say you were?
and we'll start
I
at
don't see the ground. Just you have to tell me where you are.
Yeah, we're just holding short of 1432 on 36. We're going to be parking, permission to cross 1432, parking at apron 5, Pilot Club 3812.
Sounds like he's
Pilot
at North
Club
Bay.
3812, Roger. Yeah, you can just proceed to the end of runway 26.
Judging by the runway
taxi
numbers
via
that they're
Charlie
talking
to the
about.
right
Now, I
beach.
know we should accelerate. I just want to get through this cloud deck.
Pilot Club 3812, thanks.
I'll just push our way through this cloud deck. Once we get on top of the cloud deck, then we'll really kind of give the acceleration here. Yeah, it's going to eventually turn here. It's just about intercepted itself. It does. The intercepts are really kind of lousy if you're coming directly off of a heading leg, it seems to want to keep that heading leg when you issue the direct 2. Now it's going to be fine, it's going to track what it's drawn here, but that for some reason it draws an extra waypoint. If there's a heading leg as the initial leg, it does not seem to draw an accurate direct 2. Everything else with this FMS seems to work, but that first leg, if you're coming off a vector leg off the ground, which most people are, it doesn't seem to climb, it doesn't seem to set that direct 2 very properly initially, and then after that it seems to get a little better. Alright, let's just get through this cloud deck. I want to keep the speed back and just climb a little faster through this cloud deck, get above it, because that way we'll get out of the icing. We'll also hopefully have a smoother ride for our passengers, such as they are.
Cruise 357, descend 2,000 feet.
Come on,
proceed
we
direct
can do this.
Volac, cleared the RNAV Zulu.
We can do it, plane.
runway 26 approach.
Climb faster. Climb faster.
Descend
We're getting there.
2000, clear direct to Volac.
Definitely got some ice
and,
building up on the nose again.
Proceed with the RNAV Zulu runway 26 approach, Rouge 357.
Alright, seems like we're going to come out to the top in the next 2,000 or 3,000 feet, hopefully. Might give it just even a little more speed here. Still got ice being reported by the ice detector, so we'll keep going here, but we should be out of the ice in the next few minutes, and then we can take off that ice protection. It feels like it really penalizes the performance of this aircraft, especially if you're trying to get up those higher levels. Winds 350 at 18. I think we'll get 30 or 4.
Toronto Center is Rouge 357. I'm not
Is there an approach? Yeah, there's probably an RNAV approach. It's pretty much always 12:30 for the airliners, anyways, in Sault Ste. Marie. And it's one of those, Sault Ste. Marie is one of those odd airports where almost everybody does the approach to 30, even if there's like a 5 to 10 knot tailwind, just because going around from runway 12 is so awkward. 75% of the airplanes that seem to land in Sault Ste. Marie come from Toronto, and they almost always want to just do straight in for 30, unless there's a reason not to. You'll always end up doing the straight in VOR.
Fine as well. You can proceed direct Descu, clear the RNAV Zulu.
The straight in VOR or RNAV to 30. They almost never come around to the ILS unless it's slow enough that they need to do the ILS. Alright, so there's transition. Standard is set, cross-checked and passing
there was
8.
Nobody on, so
5. Yeah, I was thinking about that. What was I thinking about the other day, Travis? I was trying to think there was maybe one more thing that I was going to suggest that was penalizing your performance. The one thing I did notice as well, when this aircraft, when you reach about 28 to 29 and it transitions from speed to Mach number automatically, it usually transitions to a very high Mach number, higher than should kind of be indicated for the speeds you're at. Like, normally I try to climb this aircraft at 290 indicated when you're above 10,000. Normally that should equate to about a Mach number of 0.74 for transition, but for some reason it always seems to transition to 0.77 or 0.78. And at that Mach number you're never going to climb. So that was the one thing I noticed the other day when I was flying, was make sure when it transitions to Mach number at about 290, pull that Mach number back a little bit, because for some reason it transitions to a real fast Mach number, one that this aircraft really can't climb at. It really needs to go faster. Alright, I think we're above most of the clouds here, so I'm going to go ahead and start giving this some speed here. Gonna sacrifice my climb rate a little bit here. I think what we'll do is we'll go VS. It's kind of a bit of a no-no for climbing to climb in VS mode, but I'm doing it just to sort of encourage acceleration without losing all of my climb. We're going to pull the speed bug up to
aircraft that was trying to call Toronto. I just heard static. I think it might have been American 0817. Try again, please.
It's 284, 290. Alright, so that's the one thing I noticed. Yeah, if you're having problems with the CRJ climbing, especially at the higher altitudes, make sure you're rolling the Mach number back a little bit. Don't let it climb at Mach 0.77. Mach 0.77 is fine for cruise, but generally in climb, you're going to target 290 knots, transition to Mach 0.74. That'll maintain a reasonable climb right under most circumstances. Alright, just going to let this finish accelerating to about exactly 290 knots, and then we're going to get it back in speed mode here. Just didn't want to pitch down too much as we're trying to accelerate here.
American 0817, can you just read back the entire clearance? Can you just read back the departure SID?
All right, so there's speed 290, just passing Nugup. Let's see how we're doing here. Winds are 217 at 101. So much for no winds. It's only 32 minutes to Sault Ste. Marie from here, though, at our present rate of speed. So.
Just confirm you are able to fly the BETS 2 departure era transition.
We'll try to get this going here. So, yeah.
American 0817, I'm just confirming.
It's going to be a pretty quick flight, so I had a few things I wanted to chat about. The biggest thing, not the biggest thing, but one of the things I want to chat about, something that I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, for about the last probably year or two at least, FS Elite has been my primary kind of news source in the flight sim world. Like, I'll go out and I'll try and find my own news information as well, but I almost always review FS Elite because they always seem to pick up news articles that I've often missed, whether it be new scenery or new aircraft, development updates and whatnot. So for a long time now, probably for at least 2-3 years, I've been depending on them. Has anyone else used them and noticed that in the last little while, it seems like they're kind of fallen off the radar a little bit? They're really, they're still posting some stories, but it seems like a lot of stuff is going right past them. It's not just one guy. I mean, it's a lot of it is the one guy who runs it, but he's got a bunch of other reporters that get out there, write other articles as well. Has anyone noticed that the amount of content that they've been putting out, certainly the amount of news flashes, news articles they put out, has gone way down lately? It seems like a lot of the stuff that's happening, they're posting it either 3 or 4 days after most other places have heard about it, or it's just sailing right past them altogether, which is a bit disappointing. Because they were for quite a while. They seem to be probably the busiest news organization when it came to flight simulation. They were always on articles right away. When stuff came out in a forum or Facebook post, usually within an hour or two, it would be on the FS Elite website. So it was a great go-to resource to try and find information about what was going on in the flight sim world. Try to stay up to date because there's just too many individual developers and things to keep track of. So it was a great sort of catch-all source. But lately, to me, it seems like they've really kind of fallen behind. They are not posting stuff nearly as often, and sometimes it'll be days and days between posts. They'll post a couple of things, but there's certain news that just ends up sailing right past them, which is a bit disappointing. I've started to go more to Threshold X because they tend to have a lot of the similar information, and they seem to still be operating at a pretty high level. I didn't used to check them because they were more oriented, I guess, if you will, towards Microsoft, towards X-Plane. But with Microsoft Flight Simulator, it seems like they've really kind of shifted their focus to be the whole community. Certainly, both Microsoft Flight Simulator and X-Plane are big on their newsreels. So the ice message is gone, so we're going to get that. Power off the APU there. So we'll get a little boost to our climb now by taking off all those anti-icing systems. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing. Like I said, I've depended on them for quite a while as it being kind of my primary news source, and certainly trying to catch anything I've missed. But they seem to have fallen way behind. So I've tended to start to water them and Threshold X and what's the other one I've been watching? Twinfinite also tends to have quite quick flight simulation news out there.
Bruce 357, the winds 310.
The reason I say all this is just because, again, this morning I saw something on Twinfinite that I didn't see on FS Elite, but apparently FS Dream Team has published a preview video of GSX for Microsoft Flight Simulator, so ground services coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's interesting now because I always liked GSX in the P3D era. I thought it was a fantastic piece of software because it did a bunch of stuff to really kind of bring in the immersion at the departure and the arrival end, operating multiple vehicles very easily to the aircraft. Just a quick little click on your menu, and you can get your fuel truck, catering truck, dock the bridge, call for air stairs, baggage carts, all that sort of stuff. So I always kind of like that aspect of GSX. Probably the two things that were the most important to me about what GSX did was, of course, the pushback. Their pushback was definitely by far one of the best ones in the P3D era. Just for the fact that you could just simply request pushback and then just say either left or right, and it would use the AFCAD file and would find where the taxiway center line was near your gate, and it would push you back onto that center line with the tail either left or right. Or you could even do that customized pushback location, which apparently is only just now coming into Microsoft Flight Simulator.
472. I'm not sure if you've been hearing the conversation here with WestJet, but the winds at Sault Ste. Marie are 360 at 18, gust at 32. Which approach are you looking for this morning?
KNX Express 472. We're planning on runway 30, and we'll probably set up for the RNAV for runway 30.
KNX Express 472, roger. Plan the RNAV runway 30 approach into Sault Ste. Marie.
Thank you. Yeah, the two most important things to me about GSX, I wasn't listening at all. The two most important things to me about GSX in the P3D world were the pushback, which was fantastic, the way it was done with either left or right, and it would always push you back accurately onto a taxi lane, which was great. Or you could select your own position to push back. If you were in a weird, awkward spot, you could just select your own pushback spot. You just use the map. Let me just transition here now that I notice that we're above. So yeah, transition to Mach 0.79. Like, it's just way too fast. No wonder it doesn't want to climb. The second thing that I always found was really good about P3D, about GSX P3D, was the marshalling. It's just such a simple thing.
Rouge 357, welcome.
But being able to choose the gate that I want to go to at the airport, and then having it put a marshaller there to guide me to exactly the right parking spot without me having to look outside. It's a simple yet fantastic immersion, because really at the end of the day, that's how pilots park their airplanes in the real world. The pilots don't have an external view. They're not checking out what it looks like outside and looking down, at the wheel to make sure it's there. All they have is a guy out front that's just doing this. And so to be able to simulate that and have him have a, obviously he's a scripted little guy, but have a little guy out there that brings you to your precise parking location just with some basic hand signals, hand gestures. Such an immersive little thing. And the fact that you could also specify the gate that you want to go to at the airport, and it would put it at that gate. Microsoft Flight Simulator has marshallers, but they are just put at a couple of random gates throughout the airport. Oftentimes it's not the one you want to go to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to GSX. I feel like that's 33 climbing 340. The one thing I'll say, and the one thing that's making me a little bit wonder if GSX is going to be something that's going to be really useful to me is just that Pushback Express came out, for Microsoft Flight Simulator, all engines firing, and the one thing about Pushback Express is that it's all voice activated. GSX has traditionally been, and if we check out the video, and I was going to try and pull it up here, if you check out the video, it's still the same kind of menu-based interface, which worked perfectly fine.
300 at 15, gust at 22.
Let's see here.
Clear for takeoff runway 33 right.
Clear for takeoff 33 right. Lieutenant 8203.
Let's see if I can find this here. I see a whole bunch. There was a video last year. Where is the video from this year?
Toronto Center.
There's Alt. Let's just see here if I can find. I can't find it now. It was on my news stream this morning.
2960, taxi via Alpha Juliet, Bravo, and Victor. Hold short runway 33 right.
Does FS Dream Team have their own YouTube channel? I don't think they do. Ah, can't find it. Let's just... power back. I see we're slowly picking up speed there a little bit. Just get out of the detent. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Here it is. Okay. So yeah, you guys should be able to see that, right? Yeah. So it's a lot like what was being done in the previous iteration of Flight Simulator. Skip ahead a little bit, but yeah. So you get the button there on your menu bar, and then it brings up basically very similar to the original menu.
Here, read back. Can you just read back the taxi instructions, please?
But it brings up the tug. It's got the little walkie guy as well. So the guy walks around. He'll give you the thumbs up when he's all done. The tug connects.
Break Air Canada 8203. Say altitude.
You've got the same kind of voice interaction where they read. You can hear them talking to you.
8203. Identify. Turn right, direct Vivid on course. Climb flight level 2.
And then here, this is what I was looking at too. So again, nose right, nose left. Quick edit pushback. So that's back again. Hopefully. Anyways,
aircraft on frequency center, stepping away for 1 minute.
This is an alpha version, so there's no guarantee this is going to be in the final, but the quick edit pushback where you can pick the spot on the airport where you want the tug to drop you is still in the menu there, which is a good sign. He just does a simple nose right, and of course does all the same videos as the same audio pretty much as before. Release the brake, it does the whole pushback. Like it's a fairly simple operation. It's not much different from what was happening in P3D. So the only issue I have with that, and what they have here in terms of the interactivity and trying to get it pushed back to a certain spot, like on a taxiway, is great.
Last aircraft calling, just be aware that
But
center stepped away for 2 minutes.
What FS2 Crew has done, and that I really like, and it's going to make GSX a bit of a hard sell for me, is that whole voice activation thing. Interacting with the pushback by voice is so much more realistic than a button system, and that's what FS2 Crew really specializes in, is obviously voice interactivity. I got to say, like the artwork and the scenery looks really good. Like the guy out there with the pin and everything, and the tug, all the detail looks really good. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm curious to see what else they have. If they have still the marshaller, the gate selection and the marshaller, that to me I think is a bigger reason to buy GSX than the Pushback itself. Pushback Express has not done a half bad job. They each have their own advantage. I like the voice interactivity of FS2 Crew, but I also like the ability to pick either just left or right, and if they could kind of combine the two, if you could tell FS2 Crew clear for pushback, tail east, or tail to the left, and then it would automatically push you to the nearest taxiway with your tail left. Combining those two kind of things would result in like the ultimate product. Between the two of them, they have good products. They each have their own thing. I don't know which one is going to necessarily be better. That being said, if GSX brings marshallers at selectable gates into MSFS, I think they're probably going to get my buck for that. That'll probably get me their dollars. So I see you guys are chatting a lot here. I just want to get that out there because I was really kind of interested in that.
I'll have to look it up. I think it actually.
It was my Instagram. Hey Captain, I wanted to ask you something. What is the FAR with the least training waiting list for ATC? Guys on the CZUL list have been waiting for 1 year. So even if it's my home FAR, I prefer learning a new one than waiting 1 year. It's a perennial question. I see it every so often in the forums, and I honestly don't know because it's such a dynamic situation. We've tried to come up with metrics and ways to measure it because we get this question so often, and at the end of the day it's hard to get an answer to this question. It's hard to get a realistic answer because oftentimes people who are on the waiting list oftentimes have given up even though they haven't told anybody they've given up. So they'll be on the waiting list for a period of time. They won't tell anyone they're giving up, and we'll end up finally reaching out to them, and all of a sudden we'll get through like 6 people on the waiting list in one go trying to find one person who's still interested. So it's so hard to measure that, and I don't know right now.
472, when ready, descend 10,000 feet. The Sault Ste. Marie altimeter 2987, and you can plan the RNAV runway 30.
All right, when ready, descend 10,000 feet on 2987, and we're planning the RNAV. Thank you very much, Canadian Express 417.
WestJet 305, proceed direct
All right. Yeah, so unfortunately I don't have an answer. Winnipeg I often recommend as a perennial favorite because they tend to move through their wait list pretty quick. They tend to get new people out there pretty quick. Moncton also is one where they tend to move people into ATC pretty quick. I'm always impressed with how quickly stuff flows in Moncton. Moncton seems to flow better than most other FIRs. Yeah, at the end of the day, the flip side of that is, though, don't pick something just because it's got a short wait list. Make sure it's somewhere that you will enjoy controlling, because the worst thing, and we really hate it, is when people go to an FIR just to get trained and then immediately leave as soon as they're trained. Whatever FIR you go to, they invest an immense amount of time training you, not just directly one-on-one, but also behind the scenes in running the operation. They invest a lot in training you. A lot of people give up a lot of one-on-one time to train you. Nothing worse than doing that and then seeing that effort evaporated, gone to another FIR that the person wanted to be at. You know, if you're going to go and train there, make sure you're ready to commit to spending some time there, logging at least a couple hundred hours as a controller in that facility, just to make up for the time that they invest in training you, because it's a volunteer organization and a lot of people put a lot of time into training their students. There's nothing more frustrating than watching the student vanish and we're back to having no ATC in our area, because as soon as you're trained, you're gone. So yeah, I realize it's tough to wait. It's a hard thing to wait. Everyone wants to get done sooner rather than later. All right, I'm going to quickly pull off Sault Ste. Marie here because we're getting there really quick. I forget how fast this jet moves. And Sault Ste. I'm used to doing this in a Dash 8, and a Dash 8 is like an hour and 15-minute flight, and this thing is like a 45-minute flight. So let's see here. RNAV 30. We can just do it via SVED. All right, so we'll do the RNAV 30. I'm going to put Ottman down. Yeah. So we are muted to Sault Ste. Marie. And Toronto from Canadian Express 472. Any chance we can go direct to SVED to set up for that RNAV 30?
Canadian Express 472, no problem. Proceed direct SVED to descend 2,000 feet, your discretion.
All right, direct SVED and 4,000 feet our discretion. Canadian Express 472, thanks. All right, so let's go direct to SVED. There we go, just a slight right turn. And then let's start going down, because at the end of the day, it happens pretty quick. I really should have been preparing this instead of yakking your ears off, but... let's start down. Yeah, we started down at just about the right spot here. Fortunately, we got that nice little arc on there, so we can see when we're going to be level at 4,000, and that's going to work out just right. Oh, perfect. We pretty much hit that top of descent point perfectly. Didn't do the brief yet, but let's get this done here. Airport elevation 632. Nope, I was way off. 760. We need about 640. 640, perfect. All right, got a little bit too much feet off there. All right, I don't think we can do it in this, can we? In theory. Oh, we can do a rain check. Check this out. Now we're supposed to be able to anyways. So if you're going to do a GPS approach, in most aircraft you have to usually do a RAIM check, which is just basically checking to make sure that the GPS satellites are going to have enough satellites in view to give you the accuracy to do the approach. So you'll put in your destination and time and ask it for an analysis. It'll analyze the satellite data, the satellite constellation, and it will figure out if there's going to be at least 4 or 5 satellites in sight and give you a yay or nay on whether or not you could do a GPS approach at this point, at this time. So we'll say that we did that, and it did say yes. And the other thing I'm going to do really quickly is grab my speed book. Let's see here. let's first of all figure this out. So our ZFW 56.3. We're going to have about 6.5 when we get there in terms of fuel. So that's 62, we'll say 63,000 pound numbers. So 63,000 pound numbers. I'm going to get my book open. Do 290 on the descent as well. All right, 63,000 pound numbers here. So I've got a speed book full of speed cards for this airplane. And that'll give me, let's see here, flat 45 VREF of 129. We'll have to add something on extra for the gusts, but... Alright, let's see here. So we don't need the approach checklist, but what we do need is, not quite yet, what we do need is to just do a quick briefing. So I've got my speeds in. We'll do a distance calculation. We'll say that we've got sufficient room in Sault Ste. Marie. We've got no star transition today. We're just doing the RNAV runway 30 to Sault Ste. Marie 22-4. Effective on the 4th of February of 2022, WAS, so there's no frequencies need to be set. We've checked the RAIM. Final approach course is 295, and if we go to the legs page, we should see 295 plus or minus a couple degrees. There it is. Glide path altitude at Romru 1900, and the we'll say we'll do an LNAV VNAV MDA of 1065.
Air Canada 974, you're leaving airspace to the west. Minneapolis Center is offline. Surveillance
MDA mode, and we'll set it to 1070.
122.8 at 974. Thank you for service. Have a good day, sir.
All right, 1070. Airport elevation again, 632. So we got 640 now set. MSA is 3,100 feet. All sectors around Sault Ste. Marie. Missed approach is climbed to 3,100 on a track of 295 to the Kedge intersection and hole. So there it is, missed approach up to 3,100 Kedge. And caution, extensive VFR training within 25 miles of the airport. There is Sault College there. Safe altitude within 100 miles is 3,500. Uncom Sibero VNAV systems, not authorized below -20. It's above that today anyways. And pilot controlled lighting. There is a tower, so we don't need to worry about pilot controlled lighting. Poppies on the left, Odals. For this runway, and need 1.5 mile visibility. It's a nice day up there as far as I know. Let's just check, see my AM weather for YAM. It's not a nice day. It's 4 miles and light snow showers, blowing snow. Oh, it's good. That's great. And it's -13, 2987 on the meter. Wonderful. So we're going to have to try and make our way in there into blowing snow. Strong wind. Let's see here, what do we got? We got 18 gusting 32, 350 at 18 gusting 32. So we're going to need
American
probably about a 10 knot gust factor on that.
Runway heading.
10 to 15 knot gust factor, so we're going to bring it in about 140, I think, to be our rough speed today, or our approach speed, I should say.
Clear for takeoff, runway 33 right.
All right, we are making it there. Yeah, squibbly, that was GSX level 2. You had the passengers, the crew get off the bus, the passengers get off the bus. That was always really neat too, and that was a huge level of immersion. I love that idea of simulating the idea of getting passengers on the airplane. That's what I like about self-loaded cargo, is that idea of having people feeling like we're not just
American 0817.
Feeling like we're not just flying an inanimate object with this sim, but we're actually we have people in the back that we're concerned about their welfare. So seeing them get on board the airplane, absolutely having them walk down the jet bridge, that was always fantastic for the immersion. You felt like you were actually transporting a group of people from one place to another. So I do miss that, but I could do without that. Self-loading cargo kind of helps cover that. Even FS2 crew with some of their ambient cabin noises kind of help with that. For me, the big kicker, the thing that really made GSX truly worthwhile, the two things was the pushback, the way you tell it where to push back, and it would push back to a good location. It would push back onto a taxiway with no more input from you. You could focus on starting the engine. You just tell it tail left or right, and it would do the whole start for you. The other thing is the marshalling. Marshalling in at the gate after a flight. That was the other big thing that really kind of, for me, was the big.
American 0817, correct?
The big thing that added to the immersion and made it feel like I was just playing with buttons in a sim, but we actually had a real aircraft. And we had to actually really navigate from place to place. 10 viewers, engine failure. Direct SVED, yes. Direct SVED is in. Yeah, sorry if I wasn't more helpful about the VATSIM training question, but it's such a hard question to answer. Every few months we try to bring it up. It's like, is there a way we can measure this? And we've never been able to come up with anything, even if we could gather the analytics. And I don't think there's even any analytics we could gather. We've never been able to come up with a good analytic that really indicates the wait list. Especially what people really ask is not just the length of the wait list, but the time. And that's really a hard thing to gauge because there's so much that goes into it. At the end of the day, it depends on how many people are on the wait list. It depends on how many instructors are working in the FIR. It depends on, it depends on the individual people that are in training. Everybody is different in terms of their time availability, in terms of their learning, the rate that they learn at. So trying to find any kind of common metric and say, well, if it's 10 people long, we take in 2 people per month on average, so that's 5 months if we have 10 people on the list. It works great in theory, but in reality, it's just so many variables. It's hard to ever come up with a realistic. It's hard to ever come up with a realistic number that's anything more than just kind of a guess at best. So, yeah, it comes up every so often, and we try. We've brainstormed endlessly about this, and we cannot come up with any really good metric for measuring
0817, say altitude.
the wait lists. That being said, Winnipeg is one of those ones that's perennially got a pretty short wait list. It's not a popular FIR in a lot of cases, so not a lot of people think about going there as their first choice, and as a result, people who do end up going there tend to get brought through the system fairly quickly. And yeah, Moncton's another one that impressed me just with the speed at which they can get people through their system. They don't have a whole lot of students per se, but they tend to bring people through their system pretty quick. Toronto is usually the worst extreme
identified. Turn left
with the wait list because of popularity. Montreal's been bad lately because there's been a little bit of a shortage of instructors in Montreal. So in that case, it's not so much the length of the list as it is the number of instructors they have available to manage and work their way through the list. So, and it's just so many variables that go into it. Ditto for Vancouver. It's not a huge, long waiting list. It's been there's a new chief instructor that's going through the list and is really kind of tearing through it.
8203.
People that are non-responsive are assumed to no longer be interested in training. But again, there's not a whole lot of instructors either. So even though the list is not particularly long, it still takes quite a little while to get an instructor. So it's a tough nut to crack in terms of dealing with wait lists. How long is it going to take you to get online? At the end of the day, make sure you pick somewhere that you're going to be happy with for a while, because you're going to be in training for quite a while, minimum 6 months for most people, and most people take more like a year or so to really kind of get through all the levels. So make sure it's somewhere you're going to be happy with for a long time. It's not somewhere that you're just there just to get the rating and leave, because it's very frustrating to people who work there, who dedicate their time to sit to watch people leave. Anywho, let's do the approach checklist. I can pull that out. Approach checklist. So yeah, let's get lights on. I never did take the seatbelt sign off, but let's double ding it there. Pressurization is set to 640. Cabin is advised. Altimeters, we've got 2978 inches set, and sorry, 87 or 78? 87, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I may have some dyslexia going on here. There you go, 2987 inches. Set cross-check. Landing data is set for 63,000 pounds, and approach briefing is complete. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the speed now to the VREF of 140, so it's there when we start rolling back. One thing I would love to do at my desk is get like a little checklist holder on one side or the other, attached to my pedestal, where I can keep my checklist for at least for the particular flight that I'm on. Very close and very handy.
Good morning, Empress 427, gate 42 Sempery, looking for IFR clearance to Winnipeg.
All right, and once we land at 30 in Sault Ste. Marie, it's pretty easy taxi, and we'll probably roll to the end. Foxtrot back to the gate. Terrain. 3,100 feet around Sault Ste. Marie. Weather is so we've got some snow. It's not a particularly nice day. We're gonna need some good crosswind technique on this. We'll say we've checked the landing distance as well and sufficient because it's always a dry runway in this sim, no matter what you do. Operational. I didn't actually check the NOTAMs in Sault Ste. Marie. Let's have a quick look. There should be very few of them here. Oh, there we go. Sault Ste. Marie. Bravo. 0422. Echo Foxtrot Juliet.
Empress 427 clearance.
That's not
cleared
okay.
to Winnipeg. Sioux 7 departure.
Alright,
Flight
that's
route
it.
to Bravo
Yeah, no
30,
NOTAMs.
squawk 05,
And
67.
fuel. To go to North Bay, we apparently need about 3,700 kilos. We got 16.9 in the tanks right now, so we're doing okay for fuel.
Empress 427, refact is correct. Push and start, your discretion. Call for taxi.
We'll go with taxi, thanks, Empress 47.
Alright.
Canadian Express 472, descend 2,000 feet. Clear the RNAV runway 30 approach.
Alright, descend 2,000 and clear the RNAV 30 at Canadian Sioux, Canadian Express 472. Alright, descend 2,000, we're cleared for the approach.
Winds at 305, winds 360 at 18, gust to 32, clear to land runway 30.
Alright, so once we get established from SVED inbound 2,000 feet, and then we just intercept the VNAV from there. At the end of the day, at our present descent rate, we're going to cross SVED at 2,000 feet. That works for me. Looking pretty good here. Ended up going probably ended up being a little lower than we should have at this point. A little early on the descent, a little over eager on the descent, but that's okay. Better to be down early and ready rather than waiting around. Hey, I haven't been to Sault Ste. Marie in so long though. And it's funny, I think Sault Ste. Marie was the last airport I went to in the Dash 8. I'm pretty sure that was the last airport I ever flew to in the Dash 8, and that was the last time I ever flew there, because that was... you don't get too many jets going there. Certainly not Embraers anyway, so... It's been a long time since I've been to Sault Ste. Marie. Keep speed at 230 for now.
Charlie Golf Tango Kilo, good morning. Squawk 0557.
Yeah, 10 miles to go till SVED till we start the approach. At least it doesn't look like there's too much snow out here. How's the wind looking? 333 at 34.
American 0817, climb plane
That's okay.
level
Take your time.
340.
You know what? At the end of the day, don't ever be rushed in aviation. That's one of the worst things you can do in aviation is rush yourself through anything. And if you find yourself ever being rushed, you should immediately stop and take stock of what's going on, because the second you're feeling rushed, something's going to go wrong. You're going to miss something important. Something's going to go wrong. Never rush in aviation. I can't emphasize that enough. I really
Golf
can't.
Tango Kilo identified.
The minute you start feeling rushed is the minute stuff is going to get missed, forgotten, done incorrectly. The other night we had had a little bit of an incident where first officer I was flying with forgot his iPad, and he had to go and get the company loaner, but he didn't realize until he got to the airplane. So I had to go and get the company loaner, which is in the crew room, but initially he was told it was not. It was outside of the sterile area, so he thought he had to go back all the way back out of the sterile area to the external crew room to get to a safe where we keep our spare iPads, safely locked away. And then he found out that there was one in the closer crew room after he'd gone all the way out again. So long story short, he was gone almost until departure time. He got back to the airplane about 3 minutes prior to departure time. I covered him. I made sure that I got the walk around done, and I programmed and set up the whole airplane with himself. And then he sat down, and you could just see he was beads of sweat running down his face. He'd obviously been running halfway across Hell's Acre to try and find this thing. And I just told him to calm down. I just said, we're going to go when you're ready. We're not going to go a minute before you're ready. Just take your time. If we take 15 minutes to get off the gate, then that's the way it works. At no point do you rush through these things, because you're going to forget something if you rush. And he wanted to go fast. He realized, he'd screwed up. He wanted to get us out on time, or as close to on time as he could. I really had to, turn to him and say, look, just slow down. We're going to get there at the end of the day, but you have to just take your time, make sure things are being done safely. You can't go, rushing through this business like that. So if you're ever feeling rushed in aviation, that's a sign that something's bad is going to happen. Slow down, take your time. And I used to be that way. I used to be that FO. I used to rush through stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can get this done, you know, and I'd be like 20 steps ahead of the captain, and the captains would often be like, no, slow down. We're not there yet. Let's just do this.
Air Canada 8203, descend 5,000.
Let's just do what we're doing. All right, there's flaps 1. And I used to be that guy, and it took a lot for me to slow down. But at the end of the day, it's so important. The most important thing a captain can do is slow the process down if things are getting rushed, and get to the point where we're going to get there safely. Okay. What happened to my chart? Come on, show me the chart. I want the chart. Alright, pretty much 0.3 from Romru because we crossed Romru at 1900, so alright. It does look like it's a little bit worse over here now. A little bit of snow up ahead. Should almost be able to see the airport from here. I think there it is right there because it's... we got a little bit of a crowd to the left here. Yeah, I think that's...
Western
I think that's
305.
there.
Welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. Taxi via Foxtrot, cross runway 04 to the ramp.
Taxi via Foxtrot, cross runway 04 into the Pirate. We didn't see the runway until about 450, 500 feet.
Western 305, roger, thank you for that. Canadian Express 472, previous pilot reported they didn't see the runway till 500 feet. The winds are 350 at 22, gusts to 30, clear to land runway 30.
Okay, copy the winds. Thank you for the PIREP. Clear to land runway 30, Canadian Express 472. Alright, let's go flaps 8. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. Maybe I'll just turn off the camera for a few minutes while I concentrate here. Alright, we're going to pretty much need to be configured by the time we get to Romru because that's only about just over 1,000 feet above the ground. Alright, so we're 2 miles to Romru. Let's go ahead and gear down. Flaps 20. And let's get the thrust reversers armed. Let's do the landing checklist now. Cabin is advised. Thrust reversers are armed. Flight spoilers are 0. Ignition is not required. Landing gear is 3 green. And the flaps 45 to go. Alright, and we're going to do VS. Now it is snowing. And we're getting below our VREF there. Let's get some more power back there.
X-ray Alpha Papa, good morning. Clearance clear to Toronto
Too much power.
Airport.
It's suddenly it's like it's not enough power, and then suddenly it's way too much power in this airplane.
On Unicom will be at your discretion. Squawk 0527.
Alright, I got 1,000 feet set. Trying to maintain 140. We got flaps 45 going on. We passed Romru 1900. We are stable. Just got to spot this airport. I see the runway there through the clouds.
Alpha
So
Papa readback is correct.
just watch the speed.
Clearance is valid to 1535 Zulu. You can monitor Unicom for your departure and contact me airborne.
Look at that. Oh, pretty, a rainbow.
American 0817, you're leaving my airspace to the south. Cleveland Center is offline. Surveillance services are terminated. Have a good flight. See ya.
Alright, we're coming up to the minimums here. Go ahead and disengage the autopilot. Press the wrong button there. Press my push to talk.
Air Canada 8203, descend 3000.
Trying to send to Empress 47.
There's definitely a strong crosswind and poor visibility.
Empress 427, altimeter 29er89er, taxi via Gulf, hold short runway 30.
Get the altimeter to 2989, we'll taxi apron Golf, hold short 30, Empress 47.
200.
Disregard the chime. Landing.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Alright. Out of reverse. We almost made Juliet there. Just rolled a Foxtrot, but it definitely felt a little dicey. Whew.
Canadian Express
Made me sweat.
472, welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. Taxi via Foxtrot, cross runway 04 to the ramp at your discretion.
Alright, Foxtrot cross runway 04 to the ramp for Canadian Express 472. Thank you for the service. We'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Canadian Express 472, roger.
Alright, so we'll refile for the next leg out to Winnipeg, but first we'll just get off this runway here. Whew. That was one of those approaches that made me sweat. It was good strong crosswind onto a snowy runway. Yeah, that's going to make any pilot worth their salt sweat. Alright, get the lights off, flaps up. Try and keep this straight as much as I can here. Disarm the thrust reversers. Keep the engine anti-ice on for the taxi in, but we'll turn off the probe heat. Alright, after landing checklist, lights are as required. Ignition is off. Cargo air is off. Anti-ice, the engines are staying on until we reach the ramp. Probes are off. Flaps are up. Radar is off. Doesn't work anyways right now. Transponder, leave it on for the taxi in. And APU, we can probably start the APU. I'm not even going to worry about ground power on this turn because we're going to try and make it a relatively quick turn. Whew, I am still sweating. Like, that is one of those approaches like it really made me work. And especially knowing I'm doing it on stream and knowing you guys are watching makes me all the more nervous about screwing it up. No brake fans here today. No, probably not. Squeaky purr tab. Yeah, it's days like that it's funny. Like, and I've said it many times before. Most pilots earn their paycheck usually in about 2 or 3 days out of the year. Most of the times you go to work, not much happens.
Air Canada 820,
things are generally pretty quiet, which is how we like them in aviation. Clear on the right and the left, as far as I can see. Was a little bit of a hump here. Look at this hill. Might be a bit extreme, perhaps. I do recall there is a bit of a hill, but I don't recall it being that extreme. Yeah, you earn your pay. You earn your pay just in a couple days usually of work. Most of the year you don't earn too much at all. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about de-icing at all, did I? Really? I was going to talk about allowance times because most people know about holdover times, but very few people know anything about allowance times. Where are you? Oh, there you are. How did I miss you? For the first time I panned around, I missed you completely. Alright, we're going to go ahead and park right over here up next to the terminal building. Once again, I have, this is a Payware scenery. This is from MSFS Scenery, formerly FSX Scenery. Again, it's not bad. It captures the general spirit of it. The textures are not perfect, but it generally captures the idea behind the terminal here in Sault Ste. Marie. All right, so we've got the APU is up and running. Let's get the seatbelt sign off, and let's go ahead and shut her down.
Empress 47, passing 2,700.
It doesn't like it. It's just not like perfectly in the detent. There's so much noise now. Come on, you can do it. Nope.
Right direct on the beyond course, flight level 380.
There's so much noise in this bloody. There we go. Control and this control column now, as you can see there. All right, let's kill the beacon. Fuel pumps off. Nose wheel steering off, and let's do the shutdown checklist. Parking brake is on. Electrics are set. Anti-ice is now off. Thrust levers are shut off. Seatbelts are off. Fuel pumps are off. Hydraulic pumps, we're going to leave them on because we're going to start up pretty quickly here again. Beacon off. Hydraulic quantities. So they want us to check the hydraulic quantities after shutdown just to see that we have a sufficient amount for another dispatch. We do. Transponder is standby. And flight deck door off. Crew debrief complete. Shutdown checklist is complete. All right, guys. Welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. Woo! We made it. Squibbly, I see you over there. Nice to see. It's been a long time since I've been here. But it's a fun little airport. Lots of, you know, it's not a big airport, but it's a nice little small town Ontario airport. No, I don't even open the door yet. Let's open the door at least. Let's get the chocks in. Let's open the door so people can get in and out. Now let's go ahead and replan for our next leg and get this underway here. Yeah, again, this is this is not bad scenery. I think it's $9 or $12. And the other thing is that all the money, again, collected for the scenery goes to support a charitable organization. So I kind of feel okay with that. You know, I feel okay about donating money when it's going to support a charity. And wow, look at the amount of background I've got here. My chrome key here is really way too bright. There we go. If I do that, I get rid of most of it, but then I get rid of part of me too. Well, this room is just too bright now when the sun comes in. Just entirely too bright. Now, I look like crap. I'm going to just try and fix this really quick. Oh, it's hilarious to try and find like a setting that works.
203, the wind's 300 at 14, gust to 21.
Without removing half my face at the same time. Which half the face is? It's this half. It's the dark half. There's almost too much light in this room. Let me see if I can fix that really quick here.
X-ray Alpha Papa identified. Climb flight level 200. Proceed on course.
All right, that's the first time I really had a look at the stream since for the last little while, and it's as good as it's gonna get, I guess. So you guys just got to put up with it. Unfortunately, my green screen is not perfect. It's kind of cloth, so it's semi-transparent, and it often ends up that it's so bright in this room, and there's so much light now that you can see like almost right through it sometimes. All right, so I'm just going to have a quick look over here and refile for the next leg here. So YAM to CYWG. Just make sure I got everything done in here properly. Let's just check. Our alternate is Regina, all the way to Regina. Weather seems like it's going to be okay there. Winnipeg. How's the weather in Winnipeg? Going to do another approach down to minimums. It's not the best day. It's okay right now. It's supposed to start snowing at some point soon, so let's get this show underway before it starts snowing on us down there. All right, just hitting refile really quick here. Get up a new flight plan. I'm kind of enjoying this, though. It's kind of just neat to just tour a couple different places in Canada. Have not had much of a chance to do that. And there are now, and I made this comment last time, especially with Fly Tampa Toronto, it's starting to feel like the sim is finished. And by finished, I mean like there's enough diverse scenery out there, diverse aircraft that you can kind of fly it how you want to fly it. Now, I won't say by any means that everything that I would want to see is out there. Certainly aircraft-wise, it's just starting to come into its own now, but I think in the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot of aircraft release that are really going to kind of push this this sim to the point where everyone, I think, is going to be fairly happy with it, I hope. All right, yeah, welcome to Sault Ste. Marie. Just a couple of gratuitous external shots. Let me remove myself from the equation for a minute. Tama GT, good morning. let's see here. What am I trying to do here? Let me just remove myself so I can just get a couple of nice views of the aircraft itself here parked in Sault Ste. Marie, so that I can maybe in the future have some nice cards. Maybe we'll just do the nice screenshot with you in the background there, since you're always sharing the flights here. All right. In the meantime, let's get this second leg underway because it's a little bit longer and there's plenty to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and focus in on my FMS. And let's see here. So let's go back to the flight plan page here, and let's put in the next leg here. So CYAM to CYWG, and I did put a request in the Discord there for Winnipeg to see if anyone was willing to come online and provide service for our arrival into Winnipeg. If not, no big deal, but it would be nice. That's all I can say. It would be nice. But I'm not holding out hope. We had service from Toronto, which is great, and I believe it's Mark Walpert. I'm pretty sure I recognize the voice. So Mark, thank you so much for being on today and providing that ATC. And it sounds like you've been getting rewarded with a lot of airplanes out there.
8203, welcome to Ottawa taxi via.
So it sounds like you're getting your time's worth here, anyways.
Have a good day.
350. Yeah, I'm going to say we're still going to depart runway 30 on the Sioux-7 departure. It kind of gets us going in the right direction, and it's more into the wind. 04 is just a little bit too short, and there's some high terrain also to the north of the field that you have to clear. So I'd rather not take off in that direction.
To Chicago.
Let's see.
Redeparture. Hockey
pull up my flight plan. Make sure I pull up the right flight plan here. So this is still the old flight plan. Yeah. So let's pull this one up. So the routing, Sault Ste. Marie, which we won't probably get vectored back there, but
Air Canada 74
Marie, Thunder Bay, Gertie, and Govit. YQT, Gertie, and Govit, and then it's the NORAC 3 arrival into Winnipeg. SimBrief estimates runway 31 in Winnipeg, so that's what I'm going to go with initially, and we can always change it later. So I'll go with ILS Zulu 31, and I'm going to go with NORAC 3 arrival, Govit transition, execute that, just go to the legs page and make sure there's no big repetitions, no discons. It looks like it's programmed itself well here. And then MUSIB is the transition, because if we do a landing straight on 3-1, it's straight in. It's very quick and straightforward, so that's good. There's no repeats. I love it. Perf page. Again, given that it's snowing, we're not going to do any flexing. We're going to do a full power takeoff today because it does not look like it's a nice day out there with gusty winds on probably a contaminated runway. Let's just check, see what we've got here. Oh, you know what I should also do? I should stop my Canadian Express log and send that. There we go. That's my Canadian Express log submitted. What was I looking for? Passenger load. This one's 61. 50, 60.
Golf Tango Kilo, roger.
Oops. 50, 61. Alright, and we're going to say snowy runway. Set all those. Alright, fuel. Let's talk about fuel. We need 12,000, pretty much 13,000. So let's do this if I can. So let's open up the fueling panel here, and yeah, we're going to need a lot more than that. We've worked quite a bit getting here. Let's go ahead and load it up. 13,000. I wish you could like... No, you can't scroll the button now. I swear you could do that before. That's actually pretty good. Or it'd be nice if you could hold it in position and it would sort of just start cycling upwards. But we need 13,000 pounds at a minimum to do this leg. So let's get this up there. It's going to take a few minutes to load that much fuel. There. Now it's loading. We can leave that alone. So we'll skip this page for now. We'll come,
Alpha,
actually, we won't skip it. We'll put in the altitude, but we'll come back to setting the rest of the stuff later. So our planned altitude for this one is
No
38,000.
problem. Let me know.
The alternate would need 40. Regina's almost as far away as Winnipeg. Like, we need a lot of fuel to get that far. Not 380,000, 38,000, and then 40,000 if we had to go to Regina. Quick wind and ISA input here. We're looking at +2, 314
Air
and
Canada
56.
74, 53.
314 at 56 and +2. And
It's Air Canada 704. You'll have to text them yourself, send them a text.
Execute.
Ask them to move over.
Perfinit and let's see here.
Yeah, we don't get involved in these ramp
Gate
squabbles.
disputes. We don't get involved in the ramp squabbles. That's between you pilots. All right, 0.77, execute that, and all right, the FMS is already set up for the next leg. Hopefully we're going to be done fueling and boarding soon. We've already got 10,000 pounds on, so we're not doing too bad here. Let's just do a quick flow through, make sure everything is still where it should be. APU is still running. Oh, strobes went, never came off when I crossed that runway. Whoops.
WestJet 305, just confirming the call sign's correct. It's WestJet 305.
It's probably a 1. Let me check feed pilot. Let's go 3. Yeah, WestJet 305, right?
WestJet 305, clearance, cleared to Winnipeg via the Sioux-7 departure, flight plan route, depart runway 30, squawk 0510.
We got the windshield heat on. The anti-ice we'll have on for departure. Still fueling, so we can't put those on.
Clear to Winnipeg on the Sioux-St.
I did not turn off any lights when I came in here, apparently. The ramp guys hate me.
Runway 30, squawk 0510.
Okay, so we got all... Let's see here.
WestJet 305, readback is correct. Push and start, your discretion.
We're
Call
at
for taxi.
39 for now. 301, I believe, is the runway heading, as I recall from my experiences with Sault Ste. Marie many years ago. 301, still 2987 on the meter. Those are off, but see, that's why you do a flow as well, is to make sure that everything is set up correctly, you haven't missed anything. Even if you're restarting a flight and you've already flown the airplane, you redo everything to make sure something's not in the wrong position, you haven't forgotten something, left something.
You're clear to LaGuardia, Captain 2 departure, BIMPA transition.
All right, are we done fueling? Yes, yes, it appears we're done fueling, so I'm going to go ahead and turn those off, and we're going to init the fuel from the aircraft. And then we can copy the perfinit data to the FMS and also set our takeoff numbers. And now, if we go to the perf page, perf, init page 1, yes, we got weights. We've got a ZFW 58.
Air Canada 704, just confirm the runway departure is
all right, so it looks like we got everything in there.
Not 33 left, 33 right.
We just need to get the clearance, so just give it a
Air
second.
Canada 704, your readback is correct. Push and start, your discretion. Call me for taxi.
At Toronto, hello again. Canadian Express 472 on the ground at Canadian Sioux, IFR over to Winnipeg.
Canadian Express 472, good to talk to you again. Clearance, cleared to Winnipeg. Sioux-7 departure, flight plan route. Depart runway 30, squawk 0573.
All right, Canadian Express 472 cleared to Winnipeg via the Sioux-7 departure and the flight plan route off of runway 30, squawk code 0573.
Canadian Express 472, readback correct. Push and start, your discretion. Call for taxi.
We'll call you for the taxi, Canadian Express 472, thanks. 0573 is in the box, so it is as expected. So let's do a quick little departure briefing here. Thinking.
Air France 636, your mic is almost unreadable.
Sioux-7 departure.
Again.
All right, so we're going to be departing runway 30 in Sault Ste. Marie. It's a pretty straightforward taxi out here from the apron. We just taxied Golf to hold short of 30. And then there's no hotspots or runway crossings along that route. The SID is the Sioux-7 departure. It's a standard vector SID. Pretty much every airport in Canada has one. 20-3, 15th of October, 2021. Sioux-7 departure. It's a 295 heading. Wow, I'm totally off on that heading. So my bad.
How can I help you?
Obviously, I don't remember this as well as I do. Where did I get 301 from? I gotta get I got to have gotten 301 from somewhere, so there's some other airport, obviously, that has 301. Unless other signed by ATC, climb heading 295 for vectors. No right turns below 1,300 feet. There is some terrain, kind of higher terrain just north of the field here. There's a shelf of terrain here. 1778 right there. So no right turns below 1,300, and expect radar vectors to sign route unless signed by ATC. Maintain 4,000. We got nothing different from ATC, so 4,000 feet is set. We got the 295 runway heading set, and yeah. Terrain, 3,100 feet around Sault Ste. Marie. The weather is obviously a gusty crosswind, so we'll just have to. We're expecting possibly contaminated conditions on the runway, so it's just a no flex full power takeoff. No TAMs. I didn't see anything really exciting in the NOTAM department. No MELs in the aircraft, and noise abatement there is none. Just no turns below 1,300 feet because of terrain. That's all I've got.
Empress
Any questions?
427, actually, you're about to leave my airspace to the north. When effect is
And
offline,
let's see,
you can
moving
fly
along.
Unicom. Have a good
How you place your navigraph on the top bar. So I've had a few people ask me this. It's the navigraph. So when you subscribe to Navigraph, one of the things you can download from Microsoft Flight Simulator is this Navigraph data center. Thinking about it, there we go. This right here, Navigraph charts in-game panel. If you install this, that's what puts it on that menu bar. So this updates the actual data inside the sim. This adds the charts button to the panel so you can get the charts in-game. And of course I also have the CRJ, so I've got the data as well for that. So yeah, when you download Navigraph Data Center, this is what turns on, installs that Navigraph panel in the game. Alright, before start checklist, APU. I feel like this is not synced properly here. Alright, APU is on, electrics, everything should be on the APU. We never bothered to use the ground power. Yep, it is. Hydraulic pumps are auto and on. Seatbelts are, we've done fueling, they're now on. Pressurization, for Winnipeg, we need
Air Canada 74,
900 or 1,000 feet-ish, something like that. I got 900 set for now. Altimeters.
The altimeter is
2987 inches set,
via
cross-checked.
Alpha Lima,
FMS
Bravo,
and IRS.
and Delta. Hold short,
Let's see.
runway 33 right.
I might turn him down just a little bit. FMS, IRS, ACARs are set. Flight instruments and avionics are all set and cross-checked, and the takeoff briefing is complete before start checklist complete down the line. I just feel like it's a little bit loud, and I had that problem in one of my previous videos where I was just being drowned out by the ATC. And
you know, Air Canada 7453, your situation.
I know you guys wanted to
like
hear the
airport,
ATC,
no
but you want to hear me as well, so I'm not sure what you want to hear
there's
more.
always another plane at your gate.
Frankly, it's my channel, so I get to control the volumes. Okay, I think we're pretty much good to go here, Squibbly, if you're ready to go.
I told you.
I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Say we boarded everybody we're going to board, all 62 people. Close her up. Brakes are on. Yes, you can go ahead and remove the chocks. And we can get going here. So before I start checking the below line, EFDPDs are in airplane mode. Doors are closed. Fuel pumps going on. And the quantity says 13,120 pounds. Beacon is on. Steering is off. Transponder is going back to on. And parking brake is set. And we don't have a pushback in Sault Ste. Marie. It's just an open ramp operation. So we're going to go ahead and fire this up. Rob just had a look at me on the Captain Now mode. Yes, I did. It's my channel, you guys can all go to hell. I just found that before, like, I was, the two, with my voice talking with ATC and being at almost the same volume, it was almost impossible to hear anything anybody was saying, so I try to shut up when I'm listening to ATC. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start the engines here. All clear. Look at the ramp guy. He says clear to start engine 1. Here we go. And actually, the one thing I should do, two things I should do, is I should reset my streaming overlay there, because I realize it's probably gone blank because I haven't told it what we're flying now. So now that should probably fix my streaming overlay, so it's got information there about our routing. Yeah, it does. And there's 20%, so let's put some fuel to the fire. There it goes. And the other thing is, of course,
Air
I need to
Canada
also
7453,
reset my
wind
CXA cars.
320 at 18, gust to 27.
While
Clear
I'm
for
watching
takeoff, runway
that start.
33 right.
Looks good so far. CYAM, CYWG, CYQR for Regina, 38,000. CRJ7, 61 passengers, and let's get that. Yeah, I know, it's super attractive too, right? All the women swoon over the guy wearing the red Track IR hat. But yeah, it's such a useful thing to have. I couldn't imagine simming without it at this point. It just makes it so intuitive to kind of navigate the flight deck. All right, so that's clear. All right, good start on 2. Good start on 1. Clear on 2. Starting engine 2.
Sault Ste. Marie altimeter is 2989er.
2989er now.
Taxi via Golf,
See, I am
hold
listening.
short runway 30.
Sault Ste. Marie altimeter 2989er, taxi via Golf, hold short runway 30, WestJet.
Yeah, like I didn't used to have it. A friend actually sent it to me because he got a VR headset, and so he said he wasn't going to use it anymore. And if this broke tomorrow, I would buy a new one almost instantly, because to me it's so essential for simming. It just lets you move around the aircraft in such a natural way without using your hands. Look, Ma, no hands. You know, like I can look left and right in a very kind of natural way, but it's also a matter of I can navigate the flight deck and look at different things without using my hands, so I can keep my hands free for either flying. It's great when you're doing circuits, like you can look while your hands are still on the controls without ever taking your hands off the controls. It it's so intuitive and so useful. It adds greatly to the immersion. Just being able to kind of look around in a natural way, as it were, and I can watch Squibbly taxi out there. Bye! You gotta go the other way. Right turn, right turn. The only thing about these AI models that I'm noticing is he's got a nice turn, but the nose wheel doesn't turn. I want to see the nose wheel turn, and it's not turning. Alright, yeah, he's all done there. Okay, we got 2 good starts, so let's go ahead the after start checklist. So we'll shut that down. The engine anti-ice probes.
Air Canada 7453, identified, climb flight level 230.
This would be one of those cases where we would de-ice at the gate, so there's no CDF or anything in Sault Ste. Marie. If we were going to de-ice, they would have de-iced us before we took off, before we left the gate, and before we probably even started the engines. So after start checklist generators are auto.
Tango Kilo.
APU is as required, she's shutting down. Packs are on, cargo air is off, anti-ice is engines, probes are on, electrics checked, and the APU's down to 0, so we can shut the door. Electrics thrust reversers are armed, trims, we've got green and 7.5 set. BTMS is checked, and takeoff data is set and cross-checked. And after start checklist down the line complete. Let's actually just make sure we got the nose wheel steering off. Quick flight control check. Elevators, ailerons, and the rudder. Alright, and
Air Canada
nose wheel steering back on. Alright, below the line rudder's checked and steering is armed after start checklist is complete. Toronto Canadian Express 472 ready for taxi at the Soo. Why are my brakes not working?
Canadian Express 472. The altimeter is 2989er. Taxi via Golf, hold short runway 30, number 2.
Alright, taxi Golf, hold short 30. We got the traffic inside Canadian Express 472. Alright. Get a little bit of thrust going here. She really does not like doing a really sharp corner in this airplane. Fortunately, there's nobody else parked over here, so we don't have to do it too sharp. Alright, farewell Sault Ste. Marie. But that was kind of just a fun little place to visit. It's certainly a little bit more interesting than just a non-stop flight to Winnipeg, which I was also contemplating, but then it's just staring out the window for 3 hours at the cloud deck because it's kind of cloudy out here. You're not going to see too much else, which is, yeah, I decided to go with Let's Stop in Sault Ste. Marie. It added a little bit of extra time to the stream, but it also, I think, added a lot more interest to the stream. And I didn't know it was going to be snowy like this. That was a challenging landing.
350 at 22, gust to 30, clear for takeoff, runway 30.
Alright, now where's this bloody taxiway here? The apron seems to end.
Golf Golf Tango Kilo, proceed direct Descu, descend 2000.
Oh, I think I see it there. Yeah, it's so faint. In summer this will be easier to see, but yeah, this is the taxiway here. I've spent many an hour inside the FBO here in Sault Ste. Marie, which is a little more than a mobile trailer, but I spent many times there as well, unfortunately. Alright, let's get the taxi light on now that we're away from the terminal. Is there a yellow line there? Yeah, there is supposed to be. I gotta talk to the airport manager here. They do not do a good job at clearing the snow off this aircraft. See, and the thing is, I didn't get up and use the facilities. I might have to go in flight. It is really hard to see the taxiway here. There's so little variation in the texture. I see the line here. It's turning. Okay. It is a really snowy day here at Sault Ste. Marie.
7453, climb flight level 280.
Alright, let's just get the park brake on while we're doing this checklist here. So before takeoff checklist, flight controls were checked, flight instruments are checked, the fuel cross flow is manual.
November 247 Delta Echo, good morning. Squawk 0524.
N1, 83.7. Rise briefing, so runway 30, it's the Su-7 departure. The stop altitude's 4,000, and engine out will say straight ahead across
Delta Echo
Lake Superior.
Descend
Flaps.
7,000 to the Toronto
Set it.
altimeter
See, I don't like this
29075.
checklist where you set the flaps in the taxi.
Runway 33
I
right.
find myself, I tend to forget them. Alright, there's flaps 8 and cabin secure. Before takeoff checklist is complete. And I'm just going to mute
Golf
this
Golf Tango Kilo,
computer.
cleared the Arnav Zulu, runway 26 approach.
Just wait our turn.
Turn the center Westjet 305 Airborne, 2100, 4000.
WestJet 305 identified. Turn right direct Thunder Bay on course. Climb flight level 380.
Climb flight level 380, right direct Thunder Bay on course. WestJet 305.
Sunman 602, standby 1 for your clearance. K Express 472.
Thank you.
The wind's 350 at 22, gust to 30, clear for takeoff, runway 30.
Clear for takeoff, runway 30, can I express 472, thanks. I guess it would help take the park brake off too. There we go.
And Sunwing 602, clearance.
Alright, lineup check.
Clear
Cabin crew seats for
Mike
departure.
Uniform Charlie
Notified
Charlie
transponder
via
is
for departure,
on.
flight plan route. Depart runway 33 right.
Ignition we
Squawk
won't need, but anti-ice is
0542.
on. And engine displays 1 and 2 are checked and clear. Lights are, oh, so we get the strobe, on. Clear on the left and the right. Look at that windsock.
602, your reset is correct. Push to start. Your
No wonder it's
discretion,
going to
call
be an interesting takeoff here. Really hard to spot these runway markings in the snow, though, I tell you. And there's a really big hill to get up to this runway, too. For some reason. Alright, there's runway 30, if you can see it there at all. It's very faint, but it's there. Alright, so here we go again, leg number 2. Hope I started my CXA cars, I did. Alright, here we go. Alright, take off.
Actually, Alpha Papa, standby 1. I just need to pull up that chart.
100 knots. V1 and rotate.
X-ray Alpha Papa, Roger. Expect RNAV X-ray runway 26 approach, and you can proceed.
All right, positive rate, gear up.
Verpy now. Vipry now.
All right, heading mode. I never did the go-around bars, did I? Did I? I thought I did. All right, and there is speed. Autopilot's on. Let's get climb power back there. Speed 220. Flaps going to 0. She really kind of hesitated in the climb there.
Golf Tango Kilo. Billy Bishop winds 310 at 21, gust to 26, clear to land, runway 26. Canadian Express 472, say altitude.
Canadian Express 472, 2600 for 4000.
Canadian Express 472, identified, proceed direct Thunder Bay on course, and climb flight level 380.
Climb flight level 380, direct Thunder Bay on course. Thanks, Canadian Express 472. Alright, let's get the 380 in there. Alright, so that is 380 on the money and direct Thunder Bay. Alright, and what we can do, actually, let's do this. I'm going to try something here. If I do that, does that work? If I execute the Sault Ste. Marie to Thunder Bay leg, and then I do direct to Thunder Bay from where we are, that removes the vector leg. Aha! And then it does a much nicer direct to LNAV. Because if that vector leg is still in your flight plan, it really kind of... This FMS just does not like it. I don't know why, but this FMS does not like that vector leg initially, which is funny because, like in Canada, there's nothing but vector legs everywhere. Okay.
817, good morning. Clearance cleared to
After start checklist.
BIMPA transition.
Sorry, after takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up, flaps are 0. Set fuel cross-flow. Fuel cross-flow is off. Bleeds are normal, set, closed. APU is off, lights are as required. Thrust reversers are off, engine displays 1 and 2 checked and clear, and the cabin will notify 10,000 feet for the after takeoff checklist. Alright, there we go.
247 Delta Echo, descend 3000.
That was a little bit of an adventurous takeoff. Definitely the airplane struggled a little bit to get airborne there. I don't know if it was the anti-ice system, if it was the crosswind, or maybe everything, but it struggled a little bit to get airborne. She did climb eventually, but it took a little bit. Hi, there we go. Another leg number 2 already. And aviation is very weird. Aviation is a very weird way of warping time when you're working, because the departures and arrivals tend to be so busy, but then that you end up waiting in between for 30 or 40 minutes. But again, even that part is usually very busy with retrieving flight plans, setting everything up, you know, hassling someone for boarding, calling because you don't have a fuel truck yet, all that other stuff. So you often end up with like an hour goes by between the time you kind of set up for approach and landing and the time you get ready to depart the gate. You don't even realize it. And then you get going in flight and you just, the days seem to vanish very quickly. You've always got sort of so many tasks to do that the days just vanish incredibly quickly when you're aviating. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the sun's going down again and you're like, I thought we just got up like an hour ago. And it's been 3 legs, but it's just, you're working so hard sometimes you don't even realize how fast time goes by. Alright, I don't see too many.
Golf Tango Kilo, Roger, thanks for flying.
Too many clouds out there. Let's go 250 knots now. Alright, 250 knots. We're almost at 10,000.
70, 3704, the Toronto altimeter 2975.
All right.
Taxi Alpha Lima, Bravo, and Victor.
Are those
Hold short
waypoints
runway
correct?
33
There's a
right.
line out of shape. So yeah, the original flight plan we had was actually, let's see if I can bring it up here, was actually went to the Sault Ste. Marie VOR and then went to Thunder Bay, which is a little bit odd because, if I can, hold on, let me remove this. But the VOR is actually east of the field, so the flight plan as it was filed went to Sault Ste. Marie Airport to the VOR and then back off to Thunder Bay. So that's why there was a little kind of weird, and I looked at it too and I'm like, that for a second I thought it doesn't look right, then I realized, oh wait, no, that is correct because we've got, we're doing, that's the flight we're doing Sault Ste. Marie Thunder Bay was what was programmed and filed. Alright, there's 10,000 feet, lights off, and looks like we're above everything now, so seatbelts off, people can go pee if they really want to. And I might just put the wing anti-ice on for just a minute or so until we climb out of this last of this ice layer. It's still saying we're in ice. I think that's wrong now, but give it another minute or so here just to climb out of the ice. Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, like, and I'm always a little suspicious of all these advanced airplanes. PMDG is one that I don't think I've ever really seen too many errors and glitches creep in there, but certainly the fly-by-wire 320, I did see the occasional glitch in here. This thing, it's really good overall, and I don't want to belittle the developers for the amount of effort they put into it, but occasionally you do get glitches, especially with those vector legs. They really don't draw vector legs nicely.
Clipper 817, you accepted the Kepta 2 departure. Do you have the chart?
Uh-oh, someone's getting in trouble.
So on the chart it says climb runway.
Climb runway heading, maintain 5,000.
Maintain 5,000 feet.
Someone's getting in trouble. I didn't put my webcam back up, did I, after that whole departure? Wow, it looks really dark now.
Yeah, no worries.
I turned the lights down just to get rid of that shine from the background, but boy, that really got dark. So how do I... Yeah, it's removing me as much as anything else, so let's see if I can find a way to adjust this here where it's not removing as much of me, but I'm also really dark here. Let's see if we can turn this up. I didn't realize. Oh, that's a little better. There, that's a little better, I hope. It's always fun trying to sort of balance that chroma key. Alright, since we're well above, I don't know why I didn't do this, but we can accelerate too. I'm so used to my airplane with auto throttle, FMC managed speeds, automatically accelerate to 290 above 10,000 feet. I'm not used to babysitting this airplane. It's not a terrible airplane though. It's a lot of fun, and you know what? It's more of a challenge when you have to do more of the work yourself. Like the thing with these
Delta Echo, turn right,
fully automated managed aircraft like the Airbus and like all the Boeings nowadays with the fully managed FMC, you know, that controls speed and everything is you can really literally take off with the autopilot on and just leave it and not do anything until you're pretty much ready to set up for an approach and landing. And that's not strictly true, of course. You've got to adjust the altitude and everything as you're climbing higher, but really you can leave the airplane alone and it will pretty much do what you need to do all the way. It breeds a certain amount of laziness. It really does, because it works all the time. You tend to just sort of assume it's going to continue to work. You do have to be on your guard for that, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little bit blue too. Also, my hat's not quite on straight. Probably hit it with my headset while I was taking the headset off one of these times. Yeah, I turned off the overhead lights because it was washing out my green screen too much. So one thing I can try and do, I don't know if that makes it any better, but I do have a light available on my webcam that it's a white light, so it tends to make it look kind of blue. Let's see if I can I can also play with color correction. Ooh, very green, very red, somewhere in the middle. Black and white, very colorful, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, unfortunately I can't do much about that kind of green hue unless I make myself extremely red, or that whitish blue hue, unless I make myself very red. So it's, yeah. Too much light.
704, the wind's 320 at 18.
There's transition.
27, clear for takeoff, runway 33 right.
Alright. So transition, set standard. Standard is set and cross-checked and passing 189. pretty close. And away we go. All right, leg number 2. How long do we get to Winnipeg here? Prod page. An hour and 10. Even this is not as long a leg as I thought. It's an hour 10, but it's not. That's not super long, really. Feels like I'm at the nightclub. Yeah, it's just me playing with sliders. That's all I'm doing. I do not have any nightclub lighting in here. I'm just, yeah. You can sort of see if you look behind me there. This side? Or is it this side? No, it's this side more. You can kind of see like a little bit of fuzziness over here, kind of behind me there. It is still picking up a little bit of that green screen. It's not perfect. There was too much light in here. It looks like the sun's gone in now, so maybe we can kind of make a... maybe I can make it a little bit better, but frankly I'm not going to mess with it too much. I'm not going to spend my life trying to play with the levels here, especially because in order to turn the lights on and off I have to get up and go to the other side of the room, and just not worth it. So I'm just going to leave it be. Yeah, a little bit blue. Yeah. Where's the button to ban you from my chat? That's my joke. I do that all the time at work. Way too often. Way too much. That's what she said at work. Hilarious. I wonder if we are going to get a Winnipeg controller. I did beg and borrow. I did beg to see if we can get one. I mean, I will say this: we did get a tower controller. There is a tower controller in Winnipeg, so even if there's no center controller, we do have a tower, so we can set ourselves up for the arrival. We'll be kind of on our own once we arrive, but you know, it is what it is. But I'm happy to have ATC, so Mark, thank you so much for providing that ATC. I don't know if you're watching or not, but I do appreciate the ATC. It's been great. Nice to have it, and it just adds such a nice background as well. And it looks like you got your work cut out for you this morning too. Like I just from listening, wow! And you got 6 guys on the ground in Toronto heading out. So yeah, just from listening, you've been working pretty hard with a whole bunch of people, sort of doing different things too. You got a guy who took off from Pembroke,
Air Canada
kind of Toronto, like
say altitude.
Had a guy in North Bay, City Center. You got people everywhere. So
Air
nice
Canada
to see.
704 identified.
Nice to see that you're being rewarded for your time online here, definitely. And I said that last time. I think Toronto is really doing well with that. So other things in the news I was going to talk about, because I'm pretty excited. Again, just this morning, I kind of every time before I go online and stream while I'm eating my breakfast, I kind of go through and see what I can find in terms of news articles, things to talk about. So,
704, turn right, direct Vivid.
One interesting bit of news that came out that I saw this morning, anyways. DC Designs has announced a release date for their Concorde for MSFS. So the Concorde is coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and apparently it's coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator on March 30th. So that is just a little over 2 weeks away. March 30th apparently is the targeted release date. Now that's an airplane, first of all, that excites me, because it's so different from everything else that I operate. Even the CRJ, even without an auto throttle, still pretty similar to most of the other airliners out there. At the end of the day, it's still a jetliner. It's still a modern era jetliner from the last 20, 30 years. But one that's obviously still in operation. So it's a fairly automated aircraft. No auto throttle, as I've said many times, but everything else is fairly well automated. It does have an automated VNAV system, it does have VNAV system, VNAV guidance. It does have, full FMS that does everything that you need an FMS to do in terms of setting up your routes and everything. The Concorde is just an airplane from an entirely different era. There we go. That ice light is finally gone. I can take off the wing and Carol NTAs. I'm sure anything that was on there has long since melted away. That'll give us a little performance boost here as we approach transition here. So it's just more than anything else, much like the DC-6. I flew the DC-6, I bought the DC-6, and I've flown around a fair bit, and I actually haven't flown it for a little while now. I really should get back into it as well. But kind of fun just to do something different, and that's something that is very different. The Concorde's very different. It's a complicated airplane. It's
Clipper 817, the altimeter.
It's a 1960s airliner, if you will. It's very much, it's all round gauges. You've got a flight engineer station back there. Like the guy actually has a lot of work to do to keep the airplane running. There's the screenshots. The number of dials on the flight engineer station is just ridiculous. You know, and it's funny because it's not all that much more information than we get in modern airplanes today, but because of, you know, with EFIS and everything, you can display all sorts of information in a much more intuitive way on the screen. You've got your pressure gauge, you have your pressure gauges, you know, valve status gauges, temperatures and quantities and everything like that. You know, electrical, you've got your voltage, you know, your voltage, your frequency, amperage for all the generators on board. Like all that stuff would be just shown on different gauges. So the information is still mostly available to pilots today. It's just simply shown in a much more user-friendly format, you know, kind of a diagrammatic format on an EFIS system, as opposed to committing the diagram to your memory and just knowing
601, standby 1.
Where these sensors are. But yeah, just a very different airplane. And if I may say, I think it's basically the first long hauler really that we're going to get. Now, I don't know necessarily what the quality is of this aircraft. I didn't have the DC Designs Concorde in P3D. I kind of thought about it for a while, and then MSFS kind of got announced, so the idea of buying new airplanes for P3D really went to the back burner, so I didn't get it, but it's one that definitely interests me. It doesn't strike me as it's going to be like a PMDG level at all. It's definitely, and I don't think they're advertising that at all. They're not advertising it as a PMDG level aircraft, but they are, you know, putting some basic systems into it, like you will have control of electrical systems, of hydraulic systems, of things like that. So it's just very different procedures, very different checklists. You know, you've got the drooping nose, you've got to make sure you deploy, like all sorts of things like that.
You're leaving my airspace to the north.
It's going to be a very different aircraft to operate, and the fun thing will be that we can do long hauling in a very short period of time. Obviously at Mach 2, you know, we can do a North America to Europe flight in the same length of time as it takes us to do this flight stream from Toronto to Winnipeg. So it's something that...
305 Toronto.
He's calling you. No, Squibbly, where are you? But yeah, it's something that I think we'll be able to do a long-haul flight to Europe in the same amount of time. So that's going to be fun, that aspect alone.
Clipper 817, the wind's 320.
Yeah, I'm very interested in flying that airplane. So that's something there's no pricing information yet. And the other thing too, and I'll say this as well, is that it's...
Sorry, there was an aircraft that was on approach and they disappeared. Okay, Clipper 817, the wind's 320 at 18, gust at 27, clear for takeoff, runway 33 right.
Yeah, the one thing about the DC Designs Concorde, they didn't say much about pricing. They also said that they're really just putting it into testing now. And they're still finishing up and polishing up some stuff, and they've set a target release of 2 weeks, even though they're really not even into a full beta testing phase. So I do worry a little bit that the aircraft will not be well shaken out by the time we get it in our hands in 2 weeks' time. So that worries me a little bit.
704, climb flight level 350.
Mach 74 for the climb. Yeah, I worry about that a little bit. I worry that it's not really going to be totally ready just because they've got such a short beta.
Express 472, you're leaving my airspace to the north. Winnipeg Center is offline. Surveillance services are terminated. Have a great flight. See ya.
All right, Canadian Express 472 off to the en route frequency. Thank you so much for the service this morning, Mark. We'll see you next time.
All right, Rob, have a good one.
And we're over 3 Unicom as well. Sorry, we missed you there.
All right. There's Unicom up. Not much going on Unicom right now, but we will head to Winnipeg and we will get some ATC there. So, yeah, it worries me a little bit that they're not having a long beta test period for this because it's such a unique... So first of all, as far as I can tell, I think it's DC Design's first aircraft on this platform, which is a very different platform than the previous platform. So there's a lot of kind of things that probably need to be tweaked about that. And just... yeah, it's such a different aircraft too. I mean, they did make a previous Concorde, so they know a lot about what they're doing with it. But still, it strikes me as it seems like a very short beta testing window, if there even really isn't much of a beta test, or if it's more of an alpha test. It really strikes me as a very short window. So I worry that it's not going to be. Yeah, that's what I figure. You probably were listening, you missed them. So I figure it's not going to be a very. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be glitches. It's going to take a little while for them to sort of sort the aircraft out and make it reach the standard that I think we'd all like to see. So, will I rush out and buy it on day one? I don't know 100% yet. I really do want to. I also am trying to not spend a whole ton of money right now, trying to save my pennies. Lord knows inflation is costing us all dearly. I don't know. But it's on my radar. It's definitely something I do want. I do want to see that aircraft. I do want to fly it. I think it's going to be tons of fun. Like I said, we'll take it. We'll go do some transatlantic flights. And we'll do them quickly. Like, it will not take much time to get them done. What does clicking on this do? Why is that a click spot? I feel like I should know what that does, but I don't. Well. Yeah, that was the other kind of really intriguing news, if you will. I'm intrigued by that airplane. I definitely want to get my hands on that Concorde. I think that'll be a fun airplane. In terms of other flight simulator news, the other thing that kind of dropped, and I thought it was going to be kind of fun, not in a big rush myself, but Dzierżoniecki released a new airport. They released Renton, Washington. And does anyone know what's special about Renton's airport? And if you've seen the scenery release information, then you probably know exactly what's important about Renton. But I'm sure most of you guys probably who are watching this stream know enough to know what's important about Renton. And Renton is the home of Boeing's 737 manufacturing plant. Let me just find it here. So Renton is just it's a small field on the southeast side of Seattle, and that's where they manufacture the Boeing 737. If I can find it there we go. So yeah, so it's if I can pull it over here so you guys can see. Anyways, but there's the screenshot. So Renton is just on the southeast side of Seattle. It's not a particularly big airport at all. In fact, it's very small airport with a lot of stuff going on. This right here is the Boeing 737 factory, and then they fly them out from here. They do finishing and deliveries over at Boeing Field, but they actually make them in this factory right here. So it's quite a big factory. Actually, it goes all over there. There is some general aviation stuff, but you'll see it's in a little narrow valley too. There's a nice hill on this side, so it's really kind of hemmed in. But what was really neat, and it kind of really speaks to some of the power and what you can do with Microsoft Flight Simulator, is they actually have the Boeing factory. They have the production line modeled inside the factory. You can go sit inside the factory and watch how they actually put together a Boeing 737 and see the production line and of how a 737 actually goes together, even though it's all completely inside. Like and this is one of those things. It's kind of a neat thing, and yet I wonder if it really is something we should be doing. 370 climbing 380. Because the thing is, of course, the second you start adding a lot more detail, polygons and whatnot, then you're adding a lot more hit on your frame rate. But at the same time, it's just a neat little gimmick. Go walk inside the factory. Go fly your drone through the factory. Take a tour of the factory. See how they put together the Boeing 737. I mean, at the end of the day, this is optional. You don't have to buy this. You don't have to buy the scenery. You don't have to install the scenery. So, you know, if you want it and you want to just take that walk through the factory, sure. It shows you the power of what we can do in Microsoft Flight Simulator when you simulate the entire real world in a 1-for-1 scale in a digital environment. You can do this kind of thing. You can create all sorts of crazy, wonderful things, and it's such useful development tools, scenery tools, that you can do this. Like, I haven't actually watched this video, but I haven't modeling the 737 production line. Like, what a kind of an interesting and unique idea. Yeah, like, it's a huge facility here, but it really is crammed into a very small space too when it comes down to it. Like, it's not a big amount of real estate here at all. It's a very small space that they've crammed this airport into. Anywho, let's just get the cruise power going. I thought it was a neat idea, though. I don't know if it's something I would buy. Yeah, I don't know if it's something I would buy personally, But it just goes to speak to like the power of the sim and like the power you have to put almost anything you want into the sim. The scenery tools exist. It's a one-for-one reality. Like you could probably set up like cars and drive around. Like at the end of the day, it's a flight sim. It's designed to be seen. The scenery is there mostly to support the airplanes. I mean, the scenery really is kind of the star of the show half the time in this sim. But the scenery is there to support the airplane. And when you look out the window of the airplane, you see a real world. But your focus is kind of on operating an airplane and seeing the world from the airplane's perspective. So that's the important thing, is kind of keeping that in perspective, I think. And do we need hugely detailed interiors? Did they look great? Yeah, sure. I taxied past a hangar door. I looked inside. I saw lots of detail in there. It's great. But I only saw it for about 3 seconds. Is it really worth the effort of the developer to do that? Is it really worth, again, the performance hit for having those things on there? More power to Dzierżwiecki, because that's a really kind of unique, neat idea. Something that definitely aviators will be interested in. And I think they will sell definitely quite a few copies at that airport. But for me, I don't see. I kind of would like to see it and explore it a little bit, but I don't think I would spend the money on it. That being said, Dzierżwiecki does have periodic sales that are usually really quite good. So maybe when it's on sale one day, I might consider it. But yeah, it just comes for me. It comes down to performance. My sim rig is not great. I need a new graphics card, but it ain't probably happening anytime soon. So I'm going to struggle by what I've got, and it's not terrible. I'm keeping a good solid 40 frames per second in cruise in this aircraft. But it's always something you got to keep in mind in the back of your head. The more things you start throwing in the sim, every little bit just takes just a little chunk out of performance, and before you know it, you're back down to 15 or 20 frames a second that you were getting in the P3D era. Anywho, I thought that was neat, though. I thought that was it's certainly a neat news article, and definitely I'd love to know what you guys think about whether or not would be worth taking a virtual tour of the Renton factory through Microsoft Flight Simulator. I definitely see the fun and appeal of it. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I see the appeal of it. It's just not something that I think I would necessarily get behind. All right. So the last thing, well, not the last thing, but anyways, one thing I was going to talk about, I kind of talked about it a little bit, alluded to it a little bit this morning, is it's dealing with de-icing, because it's something that we don't do a lot in the sim, and for the most part, like, icing is mostly a visual effect. Really, not many airplanes have a huge performance impact. But that being said, Microsoft Flight Simulator does have that now. I've tried to fly that Cessna Caravan, and you pick up icing on that thing, or even the Cessna 172, and you can't see out the window, and your performance just goes to it just goes to hell so quickly. You lose all your performance so quickly. Just gonna move myself again just so I can have some screenshots here. But it's such a just get some nice screenshots. But it's such an important aspect of flying, especially in Canada. Suggestions for getting prepped for the S1. You know, that's a great question. Let me think about that. Let me think about that. What good tips could I offer for the S1? I mean, the biggest thing at the end of the day, probably one of the hardest things to teach, is situational awareness. Making sure you really are aware of what's going on. Don't just blindly, not just like blindly repeating things back to aircraft and just sort of blindly taxi them around. This is probably the biggest thing we see students in the beginning is you know, sort of going through the motions, but not really having a plan. Not using there's people are so, and I don't want to say obsessed, but focused on trying to learn phraseology and kind of learn layouts and get used to talking to airplanes, that they forget that the real job of an air traffic controller, you know, the phraseology and instructions are all just tools. Your job is to coordinate, is to make sure traffic travels around the airport in a useful way. And that's the biggest thing, and I see ground controllers especially, people kind of pass it off as, oh, ground controllers really don't need situational awareness because nobody's flying, nobody's going to hit each other. And yes and no, you'd still need situational awareness. Yeah, they're not going to hit each other. Absolutely. You know, if they hit each other at low speed, I mean, in the sim it doesn't mean anything, but even in real life, like it's hopefully the aircraft are traveling at a slow enough speed that they're not going to hit each other. People are going to stop in time, but it's still it's on the air traffic controllers to see problems before they even begin to form a real problem and handle them and come up with a resolution. So be aware of what aircraft are moving. Don't just blindly issue taxi instructions. Look at the route, verify that the route is clear. If the route's not clear, issue hold short instructions at an appropriate point until you confirm that aircraft has one airplane has the one they want to follow in sight. Because I see people just blindly issue the taxi instructions over and over again, and I see people almost hitting each other when they're taxiing because nobody's really thinking about what does it mean. I'm just blindly reading off the instructions. Yes, you taxi Alpha Hotel to get to runway 23, or I'm trying to think Halifax. It's Delta. Is it Golf? Delta Kilo or something. Cross runway 23 to get to runway 32. Whatever it is, but yeah, people do the taxi instructions without really thinking about them, and then they don't monitor the aircraft at all to make sure they didn't turn the wrong way, to make sure they are holding short of a runway they're supposed to hold short of. I see that a lot. So, the technical stuff and phraseology and stuff, it's absolutely important, and that's the basis. But then on top of that, you have to build situation awareness, and that's the hard part to teach. It's the hard part to learn. You can learn the phraseology, you can learn the rules, but then trying to build on top of that and build a plan for how things are going to happen and coordinate things around the airport so that everyone gets to where they're going quickly, efficiently, but also most importantly safely. That's the real job of the air traffic controller. This basic stuff is not the job of the air traffic controller. It's the plan and it's the execution. It's the transmission of the plan and execution of the plan and monitoring the plan to make sure it's being executed the way you expect. Just because someone read it back doesn't mean they're not going to look at the chart and see the wrong thing or perhaps turn the wrong way. You've got to keep on watching what they're doing. Make sure you're aware every few seconds. At least once every 30 seconds, you should be able to look around your screen and say, okay, I see these airplanes. What are they doing? Okay, he's taxiing to hold short of that runway. He's taxiing, waiting for this guy to pass before he taxis in. That guy's waiting for a clearance. That guy's pushed back from the gate but hasn't covered it. You should be able to point at every airplane on your screen and be able to rattle off exactly what they're doing, what their next kind of thing they're waiting for is. And you should be able to do that, and you should be doing that mentally every 30 seconds to 60 seconds at most, because otherwise you're losing track of what's going on. You need to know exactly what everybody's doing and why. That's probably the hardest thing to teach, and the further up you get in the ranks, the more important that becomes. Just coming up over Thunder Bay here. As you move up into S2 and especially S3 and center, when you're starting to cover more and more space, it becomes so imperative for you to have a good sense of what's going on everywhere, and it becomes harder to do it because you're covering such a large space. But even at it starts at the S1 level. Know what's going on. Don't just issue taxi instructions by rote, but think about every instruction that you give. What's its impact on the rest of your situation? Is there going to be an impact on anybody else? What do I need to watch out for? Where might there be a conflict? If I'm not sure if there's going to be a conflict, have everybody hold short until you see how it plays out. There's nothing that says you can't issue taxi instructions twice. I see it all the time. People are like, in Toronto, they're taxi Alpha Hotel, hold short 23, and that's it. And that's the last you ever talk to that guy. When in reality, there might be a conflict with somebody else getting into another apron, crossing in front of them, going into Terminal 3 or something. So, taxi Alpha, hold short of Sierra. If you're not sure where the conflict's going to be and who's going to get there first and who the resolution's going to be, just tell them to hold short. And then once you start to see the situation unfold, see how fast each person's taxiing, then you can pick who's going to be first, who's going to continue. But if in doubt, hold short. It's not a bad thing. I see people that don't want to do that. They just only want to issue that Alpha Hotel taxi instruction. I use Toronto as an example because it's the one I'm the most familiar with, but issue the whole taxi instruction up front without really looking and thinking about other potential conflicts down the road. So, yeah, that's my biggest advice. Make sure you know what's going on. I mean, phraseology is obviously important. I would hope that if you're getting nominated to do an S1 and you're not, I would hope that you're on the phraseology by now pretty well. That's the hardest skill to teach, and it's not something also you can't really practice too much offline. You can only practice it when you've got situations forming in front of you. That being said, you can always try to observe when other people are online and try and follow along with their situation and just keep track of their situation as well. So that's about the only way you can really kind of practice it. It's a hard thing to practice. It's easy to sort of practice phraseology by yourself and talk to yourself, but in terms of making a plan, executing, and monitoring the performance of your plan, that's a hard thing to do, especially with human beings who have different performance levels when you're dealing with real world, not real world, but network VATSIM pilots as opposed to just pilots in your own head. You don't know the skill levels. You don't know the speed that they operate at. Some people taxi, you know, like they're on fire. Some people taxi like they're going to get a speeding ticket if they go over 10 knots. Like you get a whole range of skills, so you have to be adaptable to that. Yeah, VFR stuff can be a challenge. LiveATC.net can be very useful for that. You can pick a busy VFR tower and just try and throw that up and listen to that and listen to those guys and get used to listening to that phraseology and think about it that way. That's another way that you could potentially learn is flightradar24.com and LiveATC, and actually watch what's happening. Pick an airport that's a fairly busy VFR airport, and watch on Flight Radar as well and see what's going on the ground there and try and follow along and see what you would do, see if you would do things differently. VFR is often the downfall of controllers because it's less rule-based, if you will. It's less stringently scripted. With IFR, it's fairly stringently scripted. If A, then B. Steps 1, 2, and 3 in order almost all the time. VFR is just so much more free-flowing that people have a very hard time with it because there's less restrictions. It's less, you know, A, B, and then C. It's just more just like, okay, we're just going to go out and do that, and sort of whatever you have to do to get there. So it's yeah, because it's less organized. It definitely is controllers have more of a problem. But on the flip side of it, Microsoft Flight Simulator has brought VFR back in a big way. VFR was almost dead on VATSIM for the last 5 years or so. Certain areas had a fair bit of VFR traffic. BC had a fair amount, and even Quebec had a reasonable amount. But a lot of, especially Canada, VFR had been dead for 5 years. And then Microsoft Flight Simulator came out, and there was no good airplanes for flying IFR anyways, but people wanted to fly this sim, and so VFR just took off like anything. Haven't seen that much VFR flying in a long time, and Microsoft Flight Simulator really brought it back, which is really kind of nice. Really, at the end of the day, it comes down to read your phraseology, practice your phraseology. The biggest thing I always tell people is, with VFR, don't clear them to do anything. I would even avoid the term authorized with pretty much anything. It's just, I usually tell my students, instead of using the word clear, just use the word VFR. You know, you want to do VFR to Abbotsford. Okay, VFR to Abbotsford. VFR circuits. So that's kind of, you know, don't use the word cleared or authorized, just use the word VFR where you kind of feel inclined to say something. And it usually tends to work. So yeah, you know, Golf Sierra Charlie Oscar, we want to request circuits. Okay, Golf Sierra Charlie Oscar, VFR circuits, runway 30, altimeter 2985, taxi, you know, alpha for runway 12 or whatever. But yeah, replace the word kind of cleared or authorized with the word VFR, and it tends to work quite well. Best followers, primes, and viewers on mountviewers.com. Thanks for that. First time chat. Probably last time chat too, I'm sure. Okay. We're already kind of getting there. I see a top of descent point there in about just over 160 miles. So yeah, if I can, I want to go back to de-icing because I think de-icing is an interesting topic. It's something that we don't get to simulate, and a lot of people don't know what to do about it. And I was thinking about making a video of this. I don't have the time. I would love to take some time to sort of make a video that really kind of explains it, but I just don't have the time. I finally put out my model matching video. I hope it was not too much of a drone, but I did put my model matching video out on. Approved is your favorite word for VFR, yeah. And approve's not bad. I used to use it. Now I've just taken to using the word, subbing in the word VFR itself. VFR circuits, VFR local south, VFR, you know, VFR over to Kitchener, runway 30 and squawk this, advise ready for taxi. So I started doing that. It's nice, and I think a couple students I've taught that to, that they seem to find it's a nice thing. It gives them something to say. It feels like you're saying something without really having to necessarily say even authorized. But yeah, de-icing is something that we don't do very much. We don't talk about very much in the sim, but the information, a lot of what you need is online. The biggest thing with de-icing is, of course, determining how long your de-icing is valid for, depending on the weather situation that you're in. Unfortunately, all that information is available publicly. What you're looking for, if you're in Canada, is you're looking for holdover tables. Probably just search Transport Canada, so that's what I did here. Holdover tables, Transport Canada, and every year these get updated as a PDF, so every year there's a new one put out, so make sure you're trying to get the newest ones here. So August 4th, 2021 would be the one that was valid for winter of 21 to 22. Should be a PDF. Current hot guidelines. West of hot. Have to actually get the current one. The current ones, the last year's are archived and they are obsolete. In general, not much changes anyways. It is a PDF file. It's a little bit boring to kind of go through, but at the end of the day, you can read it if you want. Most of what you need is usually just the first couple of tables here. So active frost. So if you have frost on the aircraft, but you don't actually have any precipitation falling, you can use this active frost. Type 1, pick your temperature, pick your type of fluid. Type 1, 45 minutes is what you get. With usually there's notes, note 5, volume parentheses for aircraft with critical surfaces that are predominantly or entirely constructed of composite. So most of this was based on the idea of metal aircraft wings. If your aircraft wing is mostly composite, like a Cirrus or a Diamond, then you'd have to use a shorter one because it doesn't retain heat as long. But yeah, type 1, 45 minutes. So from the time the spray starts, you have 45 minutes. You write down the time, you figure out your expiry time. It's good for active frost, good for all temperatures. If you have type 2, 3, or 4, depending on the concentration, whether it's 100%, 75%, or 50%, and the temperature, you can figure out a holdover time. Let's say it's -10 outside, and you've got 100% concentration of type 4, -3 to -10, 100%. Type 4 should give you a 10-hour holdover time against active frost. So, it's so long it's almost irrelevant. But let's say you have active conditions. Let's say it was snowing in Sault Ste. Marie. You can go to the different tables. So there's a whole bunch of different tables, but you can usually go to the generic table. So there's a generic for type SAE type 1 fluid, metal or composite. And then there's also for type 2, 3, and 4, there's usually a generic table, and there's also usually what am I trying to say here? Like a manufacturer specific, so a brand specific. So type 3 we don't see a lot of, but type 4. So here's the generic holdover times for type 4 fluids. And then if you know what specific brand of fluid you might have at an airport, you could actually use the holdover times for that. This one will cover any type of fluid that's been measured. So this is the worst case scenario for every fluid on this list, but if you know your specific fluid, you may get a better time. But let's say we have, again, let's say you have light snow. Where am I here? Type 4. Let's say you again have light snow. It's let's say it's -7 degrees, and normally we almost always use the fluid at 100%. So say it's -7, so below -3 to -8. That's the box we're looking for. Are we looking for very light snow, moderate snow? So let's say light snow. -3 down to -8, 100% concentration. We can get 55 minutes to an hour and 50 with light snow. Very light, we can get even more. We can get up to 2 hours. If it goes down to moderate, 30 minutes to 55 minutes. However, and here's one of the neat tricks about this, is that this is not the same as the METAR. So light snow, very light snow, moderate snow is not necessarily equate very well to the METAR. The criteria that they use for measuring METARs is not the same as the criteria we use to measure de-icing fluids. We go to the end of this document, and we end up with, where is it here? I believe it was at the end of the document. Never mind, maybe it's not at the end. But there's a table. Based on the visibility, you can determine what level of precipitation you have. Why can I not find this table now? Here it is. Snowfall intensities is a function of prevailing visibility. So this is the best way to estimate whether you're in heavy, moderate, light, or very light snow. You need to know whether it's darkness or daylight, because that affects how far through the snow you can see, and the temperature. So in Sault Ste. Marie, I think it was 3 miles visibility. In snow, it was daylight, and the temperature was below -1. So 3 miles visibility is considered very light snow, greater than 2. If it was darkness, 3 miles visibility would be considered light snow, because again, you can't see quite as well through the dark, so it obscures the light a bit differently. But so you'd have to find your visibility range on this chart, and that would tell you whether you're in very light, moderate, or heavy snow, and then you could actually go to the correct column when you have. Let's see if I can find that Type 4 table here. Generic Type 4 holdover. So depending on the type of precipitation you have, you check the different columns: snow, snow grains, snow pellets, freezing fog or ice crystals. If you have freezing drizzle or light freezing rain, note that you start to really lose a lot of capability here with freezing drizzle, freezing rain. Some of them you only get 9 minutes maybe. And sometimes you just get this red. No holdover time's ever been successfully measured in this time period. It's just the precipitation so intense, the temperature so intense that even Type 4 fluid cannot do anything. If you have freezing rain and it's below -14 somehow, which is pretty, from a weather perspective, is pretty unlikely, you're not going to be able to depart. Same if you have heavy snow. There's never been a there's never been a de-icing fluid manufactured that's been able to have any kind of sustained holdover time for heavy snow. So, you know, some of these values are quite good. Some of them can be pretty bad. Even light snow here, if you're very cold, -14 to -18, 9 minutes. If you have moderate snow between -14 and -18, you get 2 minutes to 9 minutes. Like, even engines running, it's hard to get to a runway and take off in that period of time. I almost don't know why they even publish these values. They're so minimal that very few people would ever be able to get to a runway in 1 to 2 minutes. 10 minutes is even pushing it at most airports, trying to get to a runway in 10 minutes or less. So, sketchiest looking website I've seen in a while. There's another neat thing about this, and we encountered this the other day. What you'll notice here is that ice pellets are not listed as a contamination on any holdover time table. Ice pellets are a very special creature when it comes to weather and it comes to de-icing. There's a different type of table. It's in the same document, but it's at the end of the table, and it's called an allowance table. If I can find it here. I had to go to the end of the document, I think, to find it. But here it is. Allowance tables. Because what happens with most de-icing fluid, with snow or freezing rain or anything like that, is that the fluid absorbs the water. So snow falls on de-icing fluid while you're taxiing out. That de-icing fluid absorbs that snow and it becomes mixed with the fluid, and eventually the fluid becomes too diluted if it's been out there too long. That's why there's time limits on it based on the amount of snow coming down. With ice pellets, it's a very different situation. The ice pellets do not absorb into the fluid. The ice pellets sit on top of the fluid. They tend to fall on Type 3 and Type 4 fluid. It's so thick that ice pellets fall on top of it, but they don't sink into it. They don't mix with it. They generally sit on top of it as a layer. So it's not therefore they had to measure it differently. So they don't call it a holdover time. They call it an allowance time. From the pilot's perspective, it's very similar in that this is the amount of time after we've de-iced in these conditions that we can continue to depart. So the other day, I was at an airport where we had light ice pellets mixed with light rain. Light ice pellets mixed with rain. And we were getting 25 minutes, but I think this is generic again. Or no, it's because this is last year's table. That's why they've increased it. But yeah, we got light ice pellets mixed with rain, and I remember we got 25 minutes, in this case 19 minutes on this outdated chart. Usually very short period of time. You don't even get a range to it. Most of them are really quite short, but you can get out of some airports in that time. In this case, we were at a busy American airport. It took them almost 12 minutes to de-ice the airplane. So by the time they had finished and we were actually starting engines, we'd already used up 12 of the, in this case we were allowed at 25 on the new chart, but on this old chart, 19 minutes. You know, 6 or 7 minutes to taxi out and depart at a major American airport with lineups for takeoff in this kind of weather condition, ice pellets mixed with rain. We made it close to the runway. We're about number 3 for takeoff when we reached our limit. But yeah, we went back to the gate and said we're not going again until something changes, because there's just no point. We're not going to probably. It's very unlikely we're going to make it through the de-icing process and get through the takeoff lineup and take off in that kind of a time period. If you're at a smaller airport, it can absolutely work. If there's no lineup, you can absolutely work. But certainly at bigger airports, it's possibly not workable. So you kind of need to kind of make those choices. But it's a very different table. It's a very different kind of system when when you're using allowance tables for ice pellets. But very often you're going to have to make a choice too, because the trouble with de-icing is that Type 1 and Type 4 fluids, even if you do Type 4 fluid, they always have to put Type 1 down first to make sure the wing is clean before they put down Type 4. Type 4 can't clean a wing, it just keeps the wing clean. It's a prevention, it's not curing what's actually there. So you always have to do, if you want to do Type 4 fluid, they always have to put Type 1 on first to make sure the wing's clean before the Type 4 goes down. So every time you do Type 4, it's much more expensive than just doing Type 1 alone. So can we get away with Type 1 in certain situations? Absolutely, depends on what you're doing. Again, I go to the generic Type 1 table, and I say, hey, we're dealing with some light snow. How long do I get? If it's -7, 6 minutes to 11 minutes in light snow, okay, that's probably not going to cut it at most airports. We do need Type 4. You know, if it's very light and it's 1 degree, I get 18 to 22 minutes. That might cut it at some airports, depending on how long I think the taxi out's going to be. If I can do Type 1 only and not Type 4, I can save the company a ton of money. I would never take a risk on this, but if it's something where I can say, yes, I reasonably believe we're going to take off before the end of these Type 1 times, we'll just do the Type 1. It's okay. It has a limited holdover time. But in some situations, that might be enough. If it's just removing frost from an airplane, even Type 1 will last 45 minutes. At most airports, that's more than enough time to get off the ground. But those are the kind of tactical decisions you end up having to make as a pilot. Is do we do Type 1 and Type 4? Do we just do Type 1 today? You know, and getting to the runway and saying, our holdover time expired. It's not an easy thing to do, you know. But at the end of the day, like once your holdover time expires, you don't know what the condition of the fluid is. You don't know how much snow it's absorbed or how much rain it's absorbed, and whether or not it's going to flow off the wing when you take off. And if there's any doubt in your mind, you go back and you do it again. It's not happened very often, but it's happened to me probably about 4 times where I've had to go back and get de-iced a second time because the holdover time expired. And it's not an easy thing to say, especially when you're so close to the runway. You're like, oh, we could just go. It's not an easy thing to say, let's go back, let's do it properly, let's make sure it's done. Because it's an easy thing to say, let's go, let's not worry about it. It's a hard thing to say, let's go back and make sure it's done properly. Anywho, let's start setting up for that arrival. Let's see, do we have Winnipeg Tower visible yet? Yes, we do. Let's get the ATIS and see what they're advertising here. Winds are out of the south. Just a high overcast layer. -19. Brr. Brr, brr, brr. There's 2988. Alright, so 2988, and they are advertising RNAV Zulu or Yankee 18. Request approach on initial plan departing. So we're going to do the Zulu 18 because I'm pretty sure this has never been approved for radios to fixed legs, which usually the Yankees all have. So let's go ahead and change this up a little bit here. Alright, RNAV Zulu 18. I feel like Eblon is the left-hand transition. I've flown to Winnipeg enough times, I feel like I know, but let's just check. Let's get our SimBrief flight plan in there so that everything we need is handy. NORAC 3. And let's see what's here. Eblon. Yeah, it is the Eblon transition, so there you go. Alright, so let's execute that. And then it looks like we got a discon snuck in there. Let's get rid of that. And I'm not going to close it up right now because we may not get that turn at Eblon, but at least we've got Eblon in there. It's at the end of the arrival and it's at the start of the approach, so we can close it up later pretty quickly if we need to. Alright, and the other thing we're just going to set up really quickly here is we're going to make sure we have some landing numbers. So our ZFW today was 58.2. We got 9,000 right now. See, and I don't trust this fuel calculation at all. Let's say 7,000. Let's say we'll have about 7,000 pounds when we get there. So 50, so that puts us about 65. So we're going to go ahead and just flip up to, put my speed book here to 65,000 pound numbers. It gives me a VREF for lap 45 of 131. So we'll plan on that. 18 is 10,000 feet long, so I'm not too worried about the distance in Winnipeg. All right. Everything should be in there. So let's just validate this here against our flight, against our FMS here. So it starts at Govit. The restriction inbound NORAC, let's see, for runways 18 below 14,000. It's not doing that properly. So we're going to put 14,000 at NORAC, execute that. Then we go to a Naxu, IPRUP, MLOV, 5,500 feet. There's a Mach 210 knots there. Eblin also Mach 210 knots, and Oluki, and then it continues on the vector leg. And the approach itself, the RNAV Zulu runway 18. Let's see here. So Eblin, Aldal, and O'Rourke before we land on 18. That all looks good. The minimums we're going to need, we're going to do an LNAV VNAV approach here. So 1097, 1100 feet. There you go, 1100 feet. The airport is at 784. So let's just see if we can get this. What are we at now? 900. So 780 there, perfect, love it. Getting a little sore throat here from talking for this long. All right, but we are having fun. It's a good little tour of Canada here. Beautiful, beautiful northern Ontario, just endless trees and lakes and rocks. And then it's very weird because, like, and I've noticed this so many times flying over. It's amazing how weird and quick the transition is from this kind of Canadian Shield rock tree lake terrain to all of a sudden it's just flat prairie land, and it happens so quickly. It's such a stark line. It's very kind of odd to see it. You know, you always kind of think of these changes in terrain as being kind of, you know, gradual over time, but yeah, this transition from the Canadian Shield forest to the prairies is it happens very quick and very suddenly just as you get close to Winnipeg. 80 miles to top of descent. We might as well just do this brief really quickly here. I've pretty much gone through all the waypoints, but we're going to do the NORAC 3 arrival. NORAC 3 arrival, 10-2 Charlie, 21st of January of 2022. So this is very new. Changes airport name. James Armstrong Richards International. I guess they didn't have that written on there before. They just had Winnipeg written there. Let's see here. We are going to Govit. After Govit, we're going to go to NORAC. We did check that at below 14,000 for runway 18. And Naxu, Max 250 knots. Or IPRUP, MLOV, Max 210 knots at 5,500. And Eblin, Max 210 knots. Oluki. And actually, if I read this note here, aircraft flying in the RNAV Zulu 18, the mandatory altitude at MLOV is not applicable. Sorry, I'm really kind of running out of steam here. I might have to go refresh my coffee cup here. All right, so this altitude is not applicable. I'm going to leave it in there anyways because I think it'll be a helpful kind of guide just getting down in time. We're going to get vectored around for the RNAV Zulu to runway 18 here in Winnipeg 12-2, effective the 21st of January of 2022. RNAV Zulu runway 18. And so I could do the RAIM check. It's not going to do anything on this FMS, but you would have to do it to make sure we are capable of doing this approach. 185 is the inbound course. You can see if I go down here, 186 within 1 degree. That's more than acceptable. Glide path at O'Rourke 2100, and the LNAV VNAV MDA again. I said 1097, got round to 1100 feet. Airport elevation 784. We got 780 set for the pressurization. 2,900 foot MSA all sectors around the airport. To missed approach is climb to 3,000 feet straight ahead to Noxam. And hold there. 100 miles safe 38, concomitant Vera VNAV systems. LNAV's not authorized below -20. We're not quite there yet. Get close. 3 degree pappies on the left odals, and we're going to taxi in. We're going to go to a gate. I don't know what gate we're going to go to. I really don't. We're going to park somewhere over here at Terminal 1. So it's going to be a convenient left turn. If we can, we'll make Foxtrot. I don't think we're going to quite make Foxtrot. I expect we'll either make Kilo or maybe the left turn on 13 and Victor into the apron, one of those two. Again, terrain 2,900 feet around Winnipeg. Weather is gusty wind out of the south, but otherwise it looks like a nice day. 180, 16 gusting 22. Operational, let's just check the NOTAMs because due diligence requires me to check the NOTAMs. Winnipeg. All the runways are dry. I like it. Apron 5 not fail going span greater than 171 feet. That's not us. Runway 36. That's it. Nothing else in there. So no attempts of any consequence. Fuel to get to Regina. We need. Let's just see here. We need about 4,400. Right now we got 8,800. I think we're gonna have about 6,000 when we get there at the rate we're going. So it should be good. So I haven't done this for a while, but I'm going to go to the facilities, Rob. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to go and refresh my coffee because I don't have a flight attendant who's going to bring me one. So I'm going to go and refresh my cup of coffee and, yeah, maybe use the facilities for a minute, but I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stick with us for a couple minutes, guys, and I'll be back in just a little bit here. Just going to turn off my webcam. Put my away message up there, which I haven't had to put up there for a long time because, yeah, I should have gone when we were on the ground at Sault Ste. Marie, but I just have not had to do this for a while, so there we go. We'll step out for a few minutes, guys. Just stick with me, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes to finish the landing and get us on the ground in Winnipeg. Back with you, and I see my P-pilot is flashing. Winnipeg Center came online, of course. The second I step away, right? It was like the second I stepped out of the room, right? That's when Winnipeg came online? I'm sure it was. Hilarious. I mean, I'm happy to have them here, don't get me wrong. But just always the way, right? The second you step out of the flight deck to go use the facilities, when Center shows up. Center, good day, Canadian Express 472, flight level 380. Little turbulence bump there. Wow, he's really quiet. Alright, confirm the squawk code, was it 0652 for Canadian Express 472?
Canadian Express 472, affirm 0652.
Alright, 0652 in for Canadian Express 472. Super quiet.
Express 472, thanks, you're identified. Winnipeg altimeter 2988. When ready, advise requested approach.
Okay, 2988, we're playing the RNAV Zulu runway 18 for Canadian Express 472. I shouldn't move that one, I should move that one.
Express 472, roger, expect the RNAV Zulu runway 18 when ready to send 10,000.
Alright, we'll plan on that when ready to send 10,000. We're just starting down now, Canadian Express 472. 10,000 feet. I got hit back here just in the nick of time to talk to Winnipeg and to start this descent. It's nice to get out of the seat for a few minutes, though, I tell you. And it's like, personally, like, I always try to use facilities every time I stop an airplane. Every time I have a stop anywhere, a turn anywhere, I always try to use the facilities then, because it's so awkward sometimes getting out of the flight deck in flight. But in this case, because I don't have a particular schedule to keep, and I'm just not in a rush, but I want to get the flights underway, because nobody wants to sit here and stare at the airplane when it's not moving. I kind of felt the pressure.
I do have your clearance here.
To just sort of felt the pressure to just sort of sit in the airplane and just keep going.
Jesse, ready to copy that.
All right.
1871.
Now the direct intercept page has all of my targets, speeds on there. It looks like 2,000 feet per minute is the target, so let's get that in there. 2,000 feet per minute.
Toronto Ulysses 1, departure flight plan route 0654.
And there we go. And all of you Canadian pilots out there, I requested FATSIM ATC in Toronto and Winnipeg, so you're welcome for flying Toronto and Winnipeg today. I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and be a little bit more aggressive. I've in the past, I've been very passive about it. I've just sort of like, we'll fly a flight. If ATC's there, great. If not, no worries. I'm going to try to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe not even aggressive, but just assertive, just requesting it when I know we're going to fly. The trouble is, like so often in the past, I've been very non-committal to flights, but you guys are making me be a little bit more committed, which is kind of a good thing, I think. Committing to dates and times and sticking to what I set for myself. Yeah, that probably is a good thing at the end of the day. So I'm going to try and stick to that a little bit more.
All right, we'll pick up Alpha at 1871.
Yeah, it's okay. I let them know. Thank you, Travis. Very quiet. Yeah, I had to turn my V-pilot way up there, and even then it's quiet. I think Mark may have been a little bit over loud, so I think the contrast even is even worse. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm happy to have some ATC. I'm going to not complain too much about it being quiet. Yeah, now Mark is gone. But there we go. You know, and at the end of the day, like, you know, if I can get ATC, great. I'm not going to stop a flight if we don't have it. I'm not going to cry if we don't get it. You know, I'm here too. I understand it's a volunteer organization and nobody has to be here. But you know, as controllers, I think when you know there's something coming, you know, it provides an incentive for you to try to find the time to be online. If you're free that morning and you know there's a flight happening or an event happening or whatever, you know, if you think you can put the time in, even just for an hour, it might be worth it if you can handle that particular event and help coordinate like a particularly busy time. So I do it. I certainly do it. If I see things are busy and I have an hour that I know I can get online, I'll do it. Speaking of getting online for ATC, I haven't put this in my Discord yet, but tomorrow afternoon, plan on some live stream ATC. Again, going to try Winnipeg, or Edmonton Center, I should say. Edmonton Center, I expired a little while ago there. I've been trying to get into it, and every time I'm just about to log on to Edmonton, someone else logs on, which is, I guess, a good thing. It's a good problem to have, that Edmonton is always well-staffed. But yeah, so tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be doing live stream ATC starting, I don't know when exactly. That's why I haven't figured out the times, but have to work in the morning, get done pretty reasonable hour. Have to get up super early on Monday morning as well, so it's not going to be a late stream. It's going to be probably from the likes of like 5 p.m. Probably 5 till 8-ish, something along those lines. So, and my target is Edmonton. If I can't do Edmonton, I don't know. I'll pick whatever. I'll pick wherever else looks busy in VATCAN, if it's not Edmonton. But that's my target, is to do Edmonton Center tomorrow from 4 till 7 p.m. Eastern time. So. See, that's 21 to midnight Zulu probably. Sorry, not 4 to 7, 5 to 8. So 22 till 01 Zulu. And then the clocks this weekend go back, or they spring forward, don't they? We're going to lose an hour of sleep on Saturday night. Oh, Jesus. I had to get up early and we're still losing an hour of sleep. Oh. See, we're still over Ontario, we're still over like this Canadian Shield territory, but just like in the next like 50 miles, it's just going to vanish. It's going to suddenly transition to prairies so suddenly that you almost think it's artificial, and so it's so sudden. I was thinking that maybe the next time we do this, I should make a bit more emphasis on let's make this a nice big group flight, because I see a bunch of you guys watching. I know a bunch of you guys like to fly. So my thought, I got 10 of you guys watching right now. My thought is, like, let's do a big group flight on one of these last ones. And my proposal would be the last leg of the Canadian cross country tour. So to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking for my next legs, I was going to do Winnipeg to Lethbridge, Winnipeg to Lethbridge probably as one leg, and then on the last day we would do Lethbridge, Kelowna, and Kelowna down to Vancouver. And I would love to try and get, like, let's get a big group going from Kelowna down to Vancouver. Two absolutely great airports, lots of great scenery. I'm sure I can bribe some Vancouver ATC into doing something for us. I think it would be great fun if we could get a group flight of 5 or 6 or 7 of us on stream and do that last leg of this cross-country tour in a big way, because it's good scenery. I'm sure a lot of you guys have to have the FSIM studio scenery at both ends. I I think it'd be a lot of fun because I'm enjoying, and I enjoy flying with Cooley, and it's just fun to see other airplanes out there and enjoy it. So, you know, it's one of the things I love about VATSIM is you never know who you're going to run into and where you're going to run into other pilots here. Let's get that speed up to 290, but yeah, I think that'd be great fun to try and get that done.
Temple 174, you're identified, flight level 370, welcome.
He is super quiet. Could have 15 to 20, oh god. But it's just so much fun, especially for, and that's why I'm trying to pick like the shorter leg at the end to really kind of make it a last little celebration to wrap up that tour. I might even contemplate doing it in the DC-6. That might be fun. Do it in the DC-6 from Kelowna down to Vancouver, because the DC-6 won't take too long. On a longer leg, the DC-6, she doesn't go particularly fast.
Runway 25, altimeter 30.
So on the longer legs, you kind of like, not sure if I want a DC-6 because it's going to take forever. But let's get the anti-ace on here. But on those shorter legs, might be fun. I've got to think about it. It's a couple legs away. So it will be a little bit of time to think about it, work out the time, see if it's worthwhile. But yeah, so that's kind of my plan is Winnipeg through to Lethbridge, Lethbridge to Kelowna, Kelowna to Vancouver. That'll complete the cross-country tour, because there's a really nice looking freeware Lethbridge on flightsim.to. So I thought that might kind of break up the Winnipeg to Kelowna leg. Also give us somewhere to stop in the Edmonton FIR, because my other kind of inadvertent goal was to hit up every FIR in Canada. And I was almost going to skip right over Edmonton, because there's no good Calgary scenery, there's no good Edmonton scenery, there's nothing really good in the Edmonton FIR. It's not their fault. You know, it's just what's been released to date. But I thought that might be, you know, at least a good way to kind of celebrate Winnipeg at least is have, or Edmonton at least is stop in Lethbridge. So yeah, I'm going to download that freeware at Lethbridge. It looks pretty good from the screenshots. I haven't checked it out personally, but it looks pretty good from the screenshots. Make that last leg just a fun one. I don't know if there's any other good sceneries out in BC as well besides Kelowna.
1871 backtrack as required.
I think FSIM Studio said they were going to work on Victoria as well. I
8, I
feel like somebody said they were working on Victoria, which is also a great airport to kind of visit. But yeah, just set up a nice last little group flight. Maybe if we do that last leg in, just one leg in the DC-6, just for a change of pace, just for fun. It'll also get us a lot lower and slower through the mountains, so you can enjoy the scenery a little bit more.
Push at 305, descend 4,000.
Still a couple legs away, still a couple weeks away. I feel like I've been spending a lot of time streaming lately, and I feel like I might need to take a little break. Not like a long break, but maybe I might just skip a week just to sort of
305%, 4,000.
Give myself a break, because this takes, and it's not that I regret that it takes up a lot of time, but boy does it take up a lot of time on a Saturday morning getting the stream in. Like getting up in time to be online at 8:30 to be done by 12:30 is it's a lot to kind of do in one go. So I may take a little tiny break after we get to Vancouver for like a week or two before we start the Pilot's Life season again. I can't make it next Saturday anyway, so that's good. Well, maybe we could do another day of the week too. Honestly, getting up this early on Saturday mornings can be a bit of a challenge sometimes for me. I am not a morning person most of the time. I'm an afternoon. I'm a night owl. I'm not a morning person.
You did. There's no big deal if you can just, yeah, just 4,000.
So we're continuing down anyway. Just continuing on 4,000. What's your 35? Sorry about that.
All right. So there's transition, set 2988. And set cross-checked and passing 17.
Canadian Express 472,
9.
descend 6,000.
Descend 6,000, Canadian Express 472. He's super quiet, and you're not used to hearing WestJet anyways. I'm curious though, are you flying like the PMDG 737 in pre-3D with the WestJet colors, or is that like you're flying like the 320 but listed as a WestJet 737? I'm just curious. Excited for that PMDG 737. That's going to be a game changer when that comes out. It really is. We're going to be all over that. And even the Concorde, I'm looking forward to that. That'll also provide something new and interesting and different on stream. So I may take a little break and just fly a flight in the Concorde just for the fun of it. Not for my career, not for my pilot flight career, but just to sort of do something. Did you log on as a 737? Because it'll show me on model matching, it'll show me whatever you say you are, regardless of what you logged on as. No, A320neo. That's weird. You know what probably is the case? It's because of the way the model matching rules work. Watch my video. Here's my little shameless plug right there. Because there's no WestJet A320, it went for a similar type in the WestJet colors, and the similar type, of course, would be a 737, another narrow body. So that's what it did. Is it picked it? It subbed it in because it doesn't have. Let's just check the aircraft rules here. But sorry. Pass number 1, WestJet Boeing 737. Yeah, even though it knows you're a 320, there is no 320 for WestJet. So yeah, it picked the next closest match, which was a 737. That's why. That's why you're showing up as a 737, because there is no such thing as a WestJet 320. Alright, well, we definitely made the NORAC at or below 14,000 restriction, which is good. What's our next descent rate? Saying 1,400 feet per minute.
1871, you're identified. Climb for level 210 and turn left direct to St. Marie.
We didn't have a speed restriction here, right, at NORAC? It's just a altitude restriction. I'm 90% sure that there's no speed restriction here. Oh, no, only if your runway's 31 and 36. Otherwise, the 250 knot restriction starts at Anaxu. I might just minimize this and leave it here. Just hanging out behind there because I'm kind of going to leave again soon. Alright, some ground contact out there. I'm going to be flying like crazy when it comes out. You know me in the 737, yeah. Oh, Travis, we know. But that's good. Like, I mean, it's gonna be gangbusters. It's gonna go. I mentioned this last stream. The 320 Neo is the most popular airplane on SimBrief right now by a factor of 2 to 1 over the next highest aircraft. As soon as the 737 comes out, that's gonna flip. I guarantee you.
5, confirm the Winnipeg altimeter 2983.
2983. Let's correct that, Mr. 05. Thanks.
Hey, you know what? It's a perfect demonstration of how model matching works. Don't worry about it. It's still like I saw you as a WestJet, and that's the biggest thing. So, you know, there are limitations to what we can do with this sim, but
WestJet 305 by Eblin cleared RNAV Zulu runway 18.
I think it's a very reasonable compromise,
Eblin
anyways.
Cleared RNAV Zulu runway 18. Mr. 05.
Yeah. See, now we're over the prairies.
472 to 4,000.
4,000 Canadian Express 472. We missed the transition because we were kind of in the clouds there, but the transition from the Canadian Shield to the prairies, it's so sudden, it's weird. There's no real transition. It's just suddenly it goes from trees to flat land. All right, 4,000 feet is set. We're just about there, so let's go ahead and get lights. Get the seatbelts on. All right, and let's start slowing for that 250 knots. Let's see here, and let's do the approach checklist. All right, approach checklist. Lights are on. Pressurization set. Cabin is advised. Altimeters 2988 set and cross-checked. Landing data set for 65,000 pounds, and approach briefing is complete. The approach checklist is complete. Let's just set the speed bugs to 250, so I got a visual reference of 250 there. There it is. We're about to pass through 10,000 anyways. Keep our situational awareness here. Still going a little bit fast. Let's get just a little more power off. And we're within the plus or minus 10 knots of the flight test standard now. Alright, It says we need to keep about 1,300 feet per minute, 12 to 1,300 to keep up with the descent rate. So let's just put it there. There's the big ditch. What is it? The Red River Bypass. That tries to prevent flooding in downtown Winnipeg. They just dug a giant ditch around the entire town. That's like 200 feet wide and like 50 feet deep. And it goes all the way around town. It's supposed to divert the Red River whenever it's approaching flood stage. It's probably one of the more aggressive flood control projects in Canada, I think. And even as you fly over the scenery, like, you know, it's not super detailed, but it is. Like, I can make out, like, that's obviously like a rail yard down there. You can see the individual subdivisions, the highways, everything. Like, it looks so, you could figure out where you are. If you were a local, you'd know exactly where you are just by looking out the window here. Everything just looks that familiar. Alright, so then the 2-knot restriction is at Emlov, so shortly after we turn the corner there. The airport should be right at our 12 o'clock here. Why am I not seeing it? Probably just because of the winter. Is it? I know it's right here on the northwest side of town. It's this right here, I think, right? Or is it that right there? Oh, it's that right there. That's the airport right there. Okay, I got it. I got it. Canuck Flyer has subscribed. Thank you very much, Canuck Flyer. I appreciate that. I'm going to try and continue to put good material out there. One thing I'm going to try and do, and I don't make any promises because I'm always fine, I'm so busy, but I am going to try to put a few flight videos, real-world flight videos, up only for my subscribed users on Twitch and YouTube. I'm going to try and put it on both platforms, so anyone who has subscribed will be able to see those videos. I had them up a while ago. I took them down. I took them down a while ago. I'm going to try and start putting some of them back up there. I'm going to try and start taking some videos again of some real-world flights.
Canadian Express 472 via Eblin, cleared RNAV Zulu runway 18.
Via Eblin, cleared the RNAV Zulu runway 18, Canadian Express 472. Perfect.
Question
So
305, contact
we close up the star here, so let's do this.
1183 for
take
West
this
Trip
Eblin
305. Thanks for your
and
service.
move it up on
Appreciate
top
it.
of
Have a
this Eblin. And that should close up our star now nicely. And let's start slowing for that 210 knot restriction now. Mark 210 on here. At 212, so 210. And I saw you, Squibbly. There you are. I see you on final there. Track hire has been a little bit difficult, but there you are. I see you on final. You're what, about 5 miles final for runway 18 there by the looks of it. I love, like, even in the distance you can see like these little streamers coming out of the cloud. I love the scenery in the sim, and not just the scenery, but like the weather effects. Like, it's all so well put together. Nothing is perfect, but the overall package just comes together so nicely. You know, it takes me back to flying. Like, it's very easy to kind of fall into this immersion trap and really start to believe it. Except for the fact that I've never really flown a CRJ. All right, we're also clear for the approach. So let's see here, altitude-wise, what can we go down to? Let's see, 2100 for O'Rourke. And it's recommended 3500 to intercept final. So let's go ahead and set 35. Let's just keep a gentle descent going down to 35 here. Winds 218 at 29. Pretty good strong wind behind us. Alright, leveling off at 3500 to join the final. Here comes the turn. And see, Uldal's a max 200 knots, O'Rourke's a max 170 knots, and we start down at 4.4 miles to O'Rourke. Is it really 4.4 miles to O'Rourke, or is it 4.4 miles from runway 18? Because that looks like a mistake to me, to be honest. I'm curious now. Huh. It looks like the jet chart may have an error. Alright, there's Alt. There's... I see you on final there, still Squibbly. You're still ahead of me somewhere. Losing my voice, too. Coffee is just not cutting it for getting my voice back. Flaps 1. Can't wait to have FS2 crew in this airplane. Oh, it's going to change it up so much. In such a good way. If we're doing 140 knots, we're going to need about 700 feet. 160 knots, we need about 850. Alright. There, it's leveled. So I'm going to set the 1100 feet MDA here because otherwise it's not going to go down. Alright, here comes the turn. Let's go flaps 8. And I'm curious if that's supposed to be 4.4 to O'Rourke or 4.4 to the runway. 35 down to 21. No, actually that makes sense that it's 4.4 to O'Rourke. It's just the diagram is not good. So 4.4 to O'Rourke. We have 5.7 to go. I have 18.3 ready to go for tower. I do. Good stuff. It's a lot to do when you're single pilot. It really helps to be prepared. I also really kind of need some lighting here. It's quite dim. A dreary day in Winnipeg. Alright, there's 4.4, so let's start down at 800 feet per minute. I'm going to say we probably don't need the engine wing anti-ice anymore. Looks like we're well below the clouds. I don't see any active precipitation here.
Canadian. We did it again. Canadian Express 472, call the tower 118.3.
Alright, thank you over to Tower 18.3, Canadian Express 472. Thanks for the service. Have a great day.
K2.
Take us to gate 8. Somewhere around there sounds good to us, and we're clear at 18 right now.
Alright, gear down. Flaps 20.
WestJet 305, roger, taxi to the ramp via straight ahead Kilo, right turn Lima, ramp at your discretion.
Alright, straight ahead Kilo, right turn Lima.
Now it gets ice.
Fine. 5, thanks so much.
It goes back on. Winnipeg Tower, good morning. Canadian Express 472's on the Arnev Zulu runway 18.
Canadian Express 472, Winnipeg Tower, good morning. The wind's 170 at 19, gusting 25, clear to land, runway 18.
Clear to land, runway 18, Canadian Express 472. And so we probably need about almost 145 for the VREF here. Alright, so 145, let's go ahead and get those armed. Alright, and quick landing checklist. We should have this done already. Cabin is notified, thrust reversers are armed, flight spoilers are 0, the ignition is off. Landing gear is 3 green, flaps to go. So flaps 30. And honestly, we're getting pretty low here on that approach, so let's... we crossed, yeah, we descended way faster than we should have. Let's disengage the autopilot, and I'm just going to level it off because we got kind of low on that approach while I was distracted, especially with that approach checklist. I didn't do my cross check at the final approach fix. That's a little better now. Get some power off before we accelerate too far. Flaps 45. Flaps 45 is indicated. Landing checklist is complete. And I'm just looking at the PAPIs, and it still looks like we are low. So try and arrest that descent rate a little bit. And
500.
all right, stay stable. Just trying to sort of get on path here without losing too much speed. There we go.
Tower, Western 305, yeah, we got another disconnect for freezing here, so thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
50, 40,
Western 305, thanks for flying, cheers.
20.
Of course, we had all that extra speed to burn off because of the headwind.
10.
Alright, reversers are stowed. And we might just make Kilo here. I thought we'd roll all the way to the intersection, but looks like we got, this is Kilo, right?
Canadian Express 472, exit left on Kilo, contact me when off.
Express 472, clear on Kilo and taxi to the gate. I don't have a gate in mind.
And Canadian Express 472, do you have a gate?
Nope, nothing planned.
Canadian Express 472, roger, taxi to the ramp via Kilo, Foxtrot, Echo. Apron at your discretion.
Kilo, Foxtrot, Echo, apron our discretion, Canadian Express 472, thank you. Alright, so Kilo, Foxtrot, Echo, we'll park next to you wherever you are there. Alright, let's just do a quick after landing flow, get the lights off. Taxi light, strobe. This should be Foxtrot, and then a left turn on Echo. Thrust reversers disarmed. There we go. And let's do a quick after landing checklist. So after landing, lights are set. Ignition is off. Cargo air is off. We can get all the de-icing off. And again, I'm a little bit confused where we are here, but yeah, that's Whiskey. This is Echo. Okay. There's not really any good signs in the scenery here, so I'm getting a little lost. Anti-ice is off. Probes are off. Flaps are up. Radar is off. Transponder staying on, and APU, we can probably start it now. What's happening? I'm clicking buttons I'm not even trying to click here. I don't see you. Where did you go? Oh, crashed the desktop at the gate. I'm sorry, I didn't see the chat there. I'll check for an update. Yeah, that's weird. Looks great. I never see this because I always fly at night. I have scenery here. Nice surprise. Yeah, this is, so again, this is the same developer. This is the MSFS scenery. Guy just makes a whole bunch of sceneries. Ice, that's fine. We're going to the gate. I'm not too worried about ice accumulation on the engines or anything else. He makes a whole bunch of sceneries. Mostly for North American airports, for kind of second and third tier airports, airports that don't normally get a lot of scenery. APU should be almost online. It's not A+ scenery by any means. There's no Fly Tampa scenery. You know, at best I kind of give them a B+. Usually custom models, not custom textures. Usually just generic textures on custom models. But again, the one thing is that it's generally better than the default models end up being. And more importantly to me, any and all proceeds he gets from his scenery go to support a charity. It's an animal shelter. So, you know, I don't feel bad about spending $10 on his scenery when I know that that money is you know, he's doing this just to raise money. So I don't feel bad about spending money. It's not a great scenery. It's not great. It's mediocre at best. It's a little bit better than a default scenery. But it's nice to have scenery in Winnipeg. It's a busy little kind of mid-Canadian airport. You know, kind of a good flying time from both coasts. It's nice to have that as an option. So I don't mind supporting this guy. All right, let me just do some stuff here. So let's get the seatbelt sign off. Shut down the engines, but they're not quite at idle. And they don't like to move to shut off unless they are precisely at idle. There we go. There we go. All right, wheel steering is off. Beacon's off, and parking checklist. All right, let's just check this out here. Shutdown parking brake is on. Electrics are all... Oh, infrared pump's off. Electrics are set. Anti-ice is all off. Thrust levers are shut off. Seatbelts are off. Fuel pumps are off. Hydraulic pumps, we're going to go ahead and shut them off because we're not doing another flight, so they don't wear out. Beacon is off. Hydraulic quantities, company wants us to check. They're the same as they were before and the time before that and every time after. Transponder standby, that's useful. And flight deck door off, crew debrief, that's it. We are here, we are done. Let's do aircraft, let's open that door. And while I'm at it, I have to launch Pushback Express to see if I can move that bridge. Chocks are in, and but that's basically it, other than just trying to start Pushback Express so we can get that bridge to dock. We are here. Welcome to Winnipeg. We've made it. That was about a little over 4 hours, I guess. Thank you guys for your patience hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. It's always lots of fun. I just, it's such a fun sim to fly. It's such a fun sim to share and try and learn. That bridge is not going to come, is it? No. Okay, fine, whatever. But yeah, it's a fun sim to share. It's a fun thing to learn about aviation. I try my best to try and teach something every single time we get on here. Yeah, Squibbly, I hope we can find something sometime that'll work for you, because you've been such a wonderful flight companion, to just going place to place and not feeling like I'm totally alone in this virtual planet. That it's nice to have somebody with me. So I appreciate that, and I will see what happens, but I'll probably try and save the next flight until you're definitely available, because I enjoy the company. I enjoy seeing another airplane out there for sure at all the places we go to. It's great fun. Thank you to Mark Walpert from Toronto, and Tim Lowe from Winnipeg here. And I'm honestly, I'm sorry, I don't even know who the tower controller was. And now he logged off. So I can't even know. Oh no. But whoever was the tower controller, I apologize. I totally didn't even catch the name. But thank you guys regardless. Thank you for the service. I do appreciate it. I'm going to try and get service every time we fly now in Canada, because I think it's fun. I think it adds a really fun element to it, and there is great VATSIM ATC in Canada, guys. So you know, if you're on the network, Fly Canada. There's lots of great controllers. There are always more controllers in training. We definitely need more controllers trained all the time, but they need the traffic to see that it's worth coming on. So you know, I think they appreciate coming on knowing that there's going to be traffic and seeing it out there. Winnipeg especially is one that sometimes it's very quiet if there's no ATC online, so it's nice to see them getting supported. So regardless, thank you guys. I hope that was fun. I enjoyed that. I still liking this airplane. Tons of fun. Looking forward to some of these new releasing airplanes very soon. This is going to change the equation, the calculus of what we do in these streams very soon. But in the meantime, we're going to continue flying the CRJ. We're going to set up probably, hopefully next weekend, a leg to Lethbridge, and probably maybe on to Kelowna thereafter. And tomorrow afternoon, tune in. Plan to fly. I will be doing a ATC live stream from somewhere in Canada. Hope is Edmonton, because I need to do Edmonton. I haven't done Edmonton for a while, but it might be somewhere else if Edmonton's already occupied. So my goal is to try and, in that case, provide service to the most number of pilots that seem to need it. But yeah, otherwise, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will see you all out there really soon on the VATSIM skies. Stay healthy, take care of each other out there. Pray for peace in this world, and we'll see you all real soon.